来自各行各业和不同背景的男女义工，从这座伟大城市的各地来到了一起，义务帮助了34市的市民。这些义工是投票站工作人员，他们以选举日协助选民分发选票、回答问题，并负责开放和关闭投票站。他们提供这些服务不是为了钱，绝非如此，而是为了帮助他人。请加入这支精英团队，做一名投票站工作人员，成为美国的英雄人物。
California's agriculture and environment are under attack by something which may appear harmless, but its damage is very real. The damage by invasive pests. Learn about stopping their attack at hungrypests.com, because they're here and they're hungry.
I'll be home in a minute.
Well, the party's just getting started, so hurry home, honey.
Talk to you later.
Yes, good job.
Slow down. Your family is waiting for you. Watch the road.
Hay escasez de agua en Los Ángeles. Cada gota es preciosa. Todos podemos hacer nuestra parte. Use una escoba en vez de manguera. Lave autos con válvula de cierre automático. Repare fugas. Use rociadores los días que le corresponden a su domicilio. Domicilios impares los lunes, miércoles y viernes. Domicilios pares los martes, jueves y domingos. Antes de las 9 de la mañana o después de las 4 de la tarde. El futuro está en nuestras manos. Y eso es algo bueno.
What's up, Bato? Where you from? Hey, what's up, Johnny? What's up?
Hey, Gilbert. Hey, Gilbert.
Man, don't be a girl, dog. Come on. Hey, I'm your friend, right? I'm your friend, right? Come on. Open up the register! Open up the register! Hey, come on, man! Forget it, I'm going to school. You have a choice to make. Make sure it's the right one.
I'm glad these kids made the right choice.
and accomplishments throughout the city, but this is no different today. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for Friday, January 28th, 2011. We're here in the John Farrell Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall. We meet here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. We also meet occasionally in the Van Nuys City Hall on the first Friday of every other month. I want to thank those members who are here on time, Council Members Huizar and Koretz, Wesson, and Zine. We are awaiting a full quorum. We have excuses from Council Members Hahn and Perry and Rosendahl today. So if Council Members Alarcon, Cardenas, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Reyes, and Smith will please join us. We'll be able to begin the legislative portion of the meeting. But we do have special presentations today, and our most important one and our largest one, which is I know why a lot of our guests are here with us today, is for African American Heritage Month. And we want to welcome all of our guests that are here today to commemorate African American Heritage Month. We have a very special program planned. It will be first kicked off by the mayor of our city, Antonio Villaraigosa, and I'd like to invite him into our chambers with our honorees today as we begin our commemorations and presentations today. And he will be joined and led by Councilmember Bernard Parks of the 8th District, who is the council sponsor for today's celebration. So Councilmember Bernard Parks and Antonio Villaraigosa.
Thank you, Mr. President. In behalf of the LA City Council and share with the mayor, we certainly are pleased to kick off the African American Heritage Month. This is something that is really elevated over the last 7 years, where the mayor has taken such a personal interest and led the way on African American Heritage Month, our Latino Month Heritage, and also our Asian. So we have made a complete cycle of honoring the cultures and the languages in our community. I am particularly pleased to introduce the mayor, particularly when we know that Brookings Choir is in the 8th District, and they have historically kicked off Black History Month or African American Heritage Month at their church at a ceremony that's coming up. I'm so pleased to see my local newspaper editor here, that Herb Wesson and I share those boundaries between the 8th and 10th District on Crenshaw. And so Mr. Danny Bakewell, and there's so many people to be honored today that you're going to be familiar with and certainly have followed their careers. I also want to mention that our Black general managers and executives are here today also to be part of that honor. And so we're just pleased. So I would just like to really thank the mayor. He has really, on his own initiative, found a way to go out for outside resources to elevate this program. He has been a part of our community. When he ran for office and won, one of the things he made a comment about, which I think resonates even today, is he said, when I run for office in any time in the future, I want my base to be in South Los Angeles. He has made every effort to make that a reality. He has moved forward on initiatives. We are very, very pleased at the fact that he created a fund in CRA to initiate and to move forward on incentives for development. Our announcement just recently at Marlton Square is the outcome of that investment in South Los Angeles, to where the city now is a co-partner and owner of part of that property to start that development. So I just would like to thank the mayor personally for what he's done in the 8th District, but particularly what he's done to honor African American heritage, not just during February, but each and every day in the city's history. And so I'd like to introduce the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa.
Well, let me acknowledge and thank Council Member Parks for that very generous introduction. Let me tell you something. I've said this many times. When you think about his service to the city of Los Angeles and recognize that he came to the police department at a time of great change in Los Angeles, the indignities that he had to suffer back then, that he did suffer with great dignity, is a big reason why he is revered and looked at and respected in his district and throughout our city. And I want to thank you, Councilmember Parks. Let me acknowledge Councilmember Wesson and Perry, I believe, who will be here with us as well. And let me say something about these Heritage Month celebrations. African American Heritage Month, Latino Heritage Month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and Native American Heritage Month. One of the most beautiful things, and I want to acknowledge our sponsors who are here today, Walt Disney, Wells Fargo Bank, Time Warner Cable, and KABC. One of the most important things I think about these celebrations is not that we have an event here in the chamber. Yes, we get to honor our heroes and our sheroes. It's not just that we have wonderful opportunities to honor people, but it's that we share the culture, the triumphs, the leaders, the great contributors to Los Angeles and the nation with one another. And I tell people one of the most beautiful things is when we have our poster contest or our essay contest, and a young immigrant Korean child wins one of the essay contests for African American Heritage Month, or an African American child winning the poster contest for Latino Heritage Month, or an Anglo child winning Native American or any of the others. It's a beautiful thing to watch when young people of other communities acknowledge the contributions and what makes LA so important and so strong. And that's why we are all committed, the council, myself, and I want to speak to a couple of people. I want to acknowledge the role of Valerie Shaw in helping to put this together. And specifically our Author Study Club, who since 1949, long before Villaraigosa, Hahn, Reardon, and even Tom Bradley, Moriarty, with Fletcher Bowron, began this celebration. Let me acknowledge them. Let me acknowledge the Voices of Unity Choir from Brookings Community AME Choir for leading you into the council chambers, wherever they are. Let's give them a big hand. Now, the topic this year, our theme is Lest We Forget, From the Civil War to Civil Rights. Last Monday, we honored the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on what would have been his 82nd birthday. The occasion reminded me, and should remind all of us, of his famous words. Life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? And I can tell you that the people that we honor today with extraordinary courage and resilience, all of our honorees today have risen to the occasion and shown us how truly important it is to serve. Now, to begin with, our Spirit of Los Angeles honoree, I'd like to bring up the Freedom Riders, if I could, for just a moment. I was saying to two of our other honorees, one of whom is pound for pound the greatest fighter of all time. We'll introduce him in a moment. But I was saying to our honorees, I can't even imagine the courage that it took for these people to go into a place of hate and violence, to confront Jim Crow and the racism that existed during that time, and to do so not with arms, to do so in peace, to do so in a way that won the hearts and minds of the American people and of the world. The Civil Rights era, as you all know, was characterized by intimidation, by threat of violence, and on many occasions by deadly force. Yet in spite of that climate, there were thousands of heroes and sheroes, people of all backgrounds, races, and religions, who stood up against the injustice that they saw around them. The Freedom Riders were one such group of people. Now, it's easy for us to look back on this era and give its heroes the recognition they deserve. But we often forget just how difficult it was for them when they were faced with fire hoses and billy clubs. Those were years of conflict, and many did not view them as heroes, but as agitators and rabble-rousers, or worse. Now, there were a total of 436 documented freedom riders in the country in 1961. 54 of them hailed from Los Angeles at the time or now reside here. How about that? 54. I'm not saying the whole state. I'm not saying the West. 54 came from the Golden State and from the city of America's hope and promise. Now, they were college students and clergy members, activists and homemakers who rode buses through the American South and risked their lives to challenge segregation. The city of Los Angeles is proud. I am proud to recognize its citizens who contributed to the honor of the Freedom Riders and the integrity of humankind. For their activism and fortitude, I'd like to present the Spirit of Los Angeles Award to Larry Bell, Louise Carmona, Robert Farrell, Ralph Fertig, the Reverend James Lawson, Claude Albert Liggins, Stephen McNichols, Carol Ruth Silver, Helen Singleton, Dr. Robert Singleton, and Richard Stewart. Where's Dr. Robert Singleton? And former state senator Tom Hayden. Yes. Oh, I mentioned Robert. So if I can bring up Dr. Robert Singleton, who, by the way, marched with his wife, was there, went to his jail with his wife. Dr. Singleton, on behalf of all of the honorees, I've had many honors in my public life. I tell people the two most significant moments since I've been mayor, or really in elected office, was to speak at the funeral of Rosa Parks. I will never forget that. To sit with Nelson Mandela 2 years ago, the great freedom fighter, and now to be here with the Freedom Riders presenting you with the Spirit of Los Angeles Award.
Thank you very much. Can I say a word?
Yeah.
Okay, I accept this for all of the Freedom Riders. We saw a need to change the culture of America at the time that we took that ride, and it was something that we knew had to be done. And we are so glad that people still remember what we've done. We took those signs down. The colored only and white only signs that were an abomination around the world to what America was supposed to stand for. We got them down, and they'll never go back up again. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, our speakers will have an opportunity to build on what they've said outside. As mayor of Los Angeles, I know the awesome task of living up to expectations set by your community. It's not always easy, but it's always worth the effort. Danny Bakewell Sr. is one of America's most dynamic leaders. His desire to provide a quality of life for African Americans is encoded in his DNA. Now, everyone knows his history with the Brotherhood Crusade, an organization that has provided over $60 million in grants and supportive services to community organizations without depending on any federal or governmental funding sources. But that only scratches the surface of the accomplishments that Danny has achieved. As many of you know, Danny led the charge with the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the Save the Dream March, to fight against efforts to turn back the clock on the civil rights gains of the 1960s. Danny's constantly breaking ground on issues throughout California, whether it's making sure that there are black and brown faces working on construction sites after the 1992 uprising. And let me stop for a moment and acknowledge Danny on that issue. When I was running 2005, Danny Bakewell was one of the people that said to me when I said I wanted to make the construction crane the official bird of Los Angeles, he said, that's all fine, but I don't see any blacks on construction sites, Mr. Villaraigosa. And I never forgot that. And because of his inspiration and, frankly, the hard work of people like Larry Frank, the building trades, and the fact that we have a community redevelopment agency, everybody. Yes, let me speak up for that. There are now 1,800 new African Americans in apprenticeship programs working in the city of Los Angeles. So Danny's work has bore fruit. Whether it was boycotting racist and insensitive television shows like The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer, a so-called comedy about slavery, his vision to help others allowed him to create many community organizations. The African American Unity Center, the National African American Unity Center, Mothers in Action, we know them. Sabrina's Castle of Fun Foundation, I'm sorry, that was his daughter. Brotherhood Crusade Business and Development and Capital Fund, and the co-founder of the National Black United Fund. He was also at the forefront of funding HIV/AIDS assistance programs and has been credited by both the United Fellowship Christian Ministries and the Black AIDS Institute as the first person to set up and provide financial assistance with AIDS in the black community. Currently serves as chairman of the National Newspaper Publishers Black Press of America. I'm proud to present the Dream of Los Angeles Award to this philanthropist, entrepreneur, community leader, and my brother, Danny Bakewell, Sr. You're bossy, Ian. He's working today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. All of those who have come out to recognize us today, Mr. Council President and members of the City Council, all of you, many of you are friends, and certainly all of you we have worked with at some point in time. It's a humbling occasion to receive an award for things that, not so much about civil rights, but just rights, just the right thing to do. My mother used to say when things got tough, somebody's got to do this, son, so it just as well be you. She wasn't shy about throwing me out into the line of fire. But it created a kind of resilience and a kind of courage that I've been proud to be in the forefront of all my life. I don't want to go on and on, but I do want to say that it is an honor. I respect so many of you, all of you here in this city chambers. You do a tremendous job. What the mayor has done and his colleagues, Bernard Parks and Councilman Wesson and Jan Perry, and all of those who have come before them, particularly the black ones, the Gil Lindsays and the Tom Bradleys and so many people, Robert Farrell, Nate Holden, Dave Cunningham, all very, very good friends of mine, and Rita Walters. We appreciate them and all their work. Thank you so much.
And let me just say, let me say that when Danny went to Herb and Bernard and myself and said, I want to do a little celebration of the Crenshaw, Lemert Park community, just a little celebration, would you help? And of course, all three of us said, yeah, we want to be there, we want to help. 100,000 people at the last Taste of Soul event. So if you haven't gone, to my colleagues, if you haven't gone to the Taste of Soul event, let me tell you something. You have not had an opportunity to really see the vibrancy, the resurgence of a great community. And That little event that he talked about is now a citywide event where people come to. And let me just tell you, you not only get great music and food, but you also get an opportunity to see a thriving community. So thank you for that little event you like to do, Mr. Bakewell. Well, the Hope of Los Angeles honoree. Sugar Ray Leonard is one of the most legendary sports icons of the 20th century. He learned to box at a gym at the age of 14. His illustrious career includes 3 National Golden Glove titles, 2 Amateur Athletic Union championships, and the 1975 Pan American Games crown. Now, many consider the 1976 U.S. team, that boxing team, to be the greatest boxing team in the history of the Olympics. Sugar Ray won a gold medal that year and subsequently turned professional. The following year, 1977, at the age of 20, he won his first professional fight, setting the stage for a collection of the most memorable fights in boxing history. A true sportsman, he never spoke negatively about fellow boxers after fights. He was solely focused on winning. In other words, he was a class act. He's cool. He wasn't one of those guys that stand over everybody and, he just did his business and walked away. And he's quoted as saying, "I didn't want the belt, I just wanted to beat him." During his 20-year professional career, he won world titles in the welterweight, junior middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight divisions. Sugar Ray Leonard is also among the most sought-after motivational and inspirational speakers in the world today. His speech titled "Power, Prepare, Overcome, and Win Every Round" is consistently booked with major Fortune 500 companies in the United States and abroad. His sincere, charismatic personality, coupled with a successful boxing experience, has led him to a successful career in television as a broadcaster with NBC, ABC, HBO, and ESPN. He was host and mentor for the first 3 seasons of the critically acclaimed series Contender on NBC and ESPN. He's portrayed himself in 71 documentaries, TV series, TV specials, more than 10 films from 79 to 2010, and most recently in the critically acclaimed film The Fighter. But most importantly, he's always been devoted to community and helping those in need. For many years, he's been the international chairman of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation Walk for a Cure. He participates in a variety of national and international causes benefiting children's charities such as the Children Miracle Network, hospitals, and the Dream Foundation. It is an honor to present the Hope of Los Angeles Award to the greatest boxer, pound for pound, that anybody has ever seen, Sugar Ray Leonard. Mr. Park.
Mayor, I won 5 titles. I was just kidding. Just kidding. I won 5 titles.
5 titles.
I won. That's okay. But I personally want to thank the mayor and each and every one of you for acknowledging me in such a prestigious-like manner. I stand in front of you deeply honored and extremely humbled by being in the presence of fighters, real fighters, and the Freedom Riders and the Buffalo Soldiers. Those guys were fighters. Those people were fighters. When I left the ring a few years ago to retire, My dream was to become world champion inside the ring. But now, as a father, as a grandfather, as a citizen of the community, my dream is to be of service in the community. So, thank you so much. So I want to say God bless to all of you, and always think of me. God bless.
God bless you. I'd like to have Herb Wesson say a few words. You know, we pinch our cheek and to be here in service of others, and as a young man who has been around for some time as Speaker of the California State Assembly and now a council member in the 10th Council Manager District, Tom Bradley's council seat, Herb Wesson.
Thank you. It shows that in the 10th district that we vote for tall people and short people. It's an honor to participate in today's program. And I have to be honest that I have chill bumps as I'm standing next to the Freedom Riders, individuals that if it were not for them, so many of us would not be here today. They didn't do it for them. They did it for us. They didn't do it for black people. They did it for all people. Because of their work, because of their work and so many of the people that are seated behind me, you see a council that is as diverse as the great city of Los Angeles, and that's worth a round of applause. And I have to applaud the mayor. The mayor is not only a friend of mine, but he is an individual that is genuinely colorblind. He judges you based on your friendship to him, on your deeds and your actions. And his dream is that everyone could have any opportunity as long as you work hard and study and prepare for it. Can we give the mayor another round of applause? I've always been a boxing fan. It is an unbelievable honor to shake the hand and stand next to one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter. In fact, since he's here, I'll say the greatest, the greatest fighter of all time. I mean, the marvelous Marvin Hagler fight, the Tommy Hearns. I mean, now,
Wilfred Benitez.
Now, he does not tower over me height-wise. Now, I'm going somewhere with this one. I'm not making a joke with this. This man won a light heavyweight championship. The guy, a big, tall, blonde guy. I remember the fight. I don't remember his name. Donnie what? Lalonde. That's like impossible. One of the greatest fighters of all times. And I remember he used to box and have a picture of his sons in his sock. This is such an honor to meet him. This is such a great day. Mr. Mayor, thank you for making African American History Month or Heritage Month a big celebration in the city of Los Angeles. And again, to all of us, let's enjoy the month. In about 11 days, Mayor, we will be honoring all of the managers and assistant general managers and all of the people from the African American community that serve the great city of Los Angeles. God bless us all. Did you get a picture?
I know we have some council members, and also we have the city attorney and city controller if they'd like to give their remarks as well right now. And then we'll call council members who would like to add their good wishes for this Heritage Month as well. Mr. Tutanich and Ms. Gruhl, thank you so much for joining us as well.
morning. I'm happy to be here today as we celebrate African American Heritage Month. This is a month where we recognize the many African Americans who have made such great contributions to our community. As you know, Los Angeles is one of the most diverse cities in the world, and I've always believed that we thrive in this city, as does our nation, as a people, because of the rich cultural diversity that we share. Today we celebrate the beginning of African American Heritage Month. American Heritage Month is not only a time to reflect upon the richness of our cultural diversity, but our shared values. We honor and are proud of such accomplishments and the courage displayed. The people that stand behind me today have displayed tremendous personal courage. In my life, I remember two fights. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. And the Hagler-Leonard fight. Now, those who've ever put on a set of boxing gloves and climbed through the ropes, the one thing you know when you do that is that you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit, and your body is going to say, I want to stop. I want to stop. But your mind and your courage push you forward because you know you have a job to complete. Sugar Ray Leonard has exemplified that type of courage, not only in the ring, but to the example that he set since the time he has retired. It was the sweetest thing in the world to watch him fight. That's why they call him Sugar. And it was a sad day when he retired. And our country is better off, and this world is better off because this guy existed. Likewise, for Danny Bakewell and the Freedom Riders, it's courage. It's courage that drives you to do what you do. It's not easy to stand up and say something that is unpopular, that's not current, that's the norm doesn't accept. It takes personal courage to know that there are going to be people that scorn you for what you say and what you do. And besides that, inside you well up that strength, you step forward and say, I'm going to do this. And you do it. And our world is better off because they existed. Our city is better off because they existed. Our city is better off because of the fight, because of what they did. And I want to thank these gentlemen behind me and Sugar Ray Leonard for the enjoyment and the liberty that I share because of what they've done. Today is kind of an auspicious day. It's the 25th anniversary of the Challenger accident. That accident occurred on January 28, 1986. It's very, very early in the Challenger's, I think it was the 12th flight or something like that. I remember watching it take off on TV. 73 seconds into that flight, the entire 7 aboard that mission, including one African-American astronaut named Ronald Irving McNair. He was the mission specialist on that flight, and he perished. The courage to strap yourself into a seat and blow yourself into space is amazing. Again, for the betterment of humanity. I'd like to further recognize the flight on August 30th, 1983, aboard that same Challenger aircraft. Guion S. Buford Jr., the first African-American astronaut to climb into that capsule and launch himself into space. And lastly, and I bet you nobody here knows her name, the first African-American female astronaut who on September 12th, 1992, did the exact same thing. Race, gender, ethnicity, has no bearing in who you are. It's character that's made up. And Mae C. Jemison on that day became the first African-American female to go into space for this nation. I am very, very proud to stand here as the city attorney of this wonderful city, this very diverse city, and honor the African-American history that is so prevalent and so great in this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney. And for those of you who don't know, our city attorney is an amateur boxer, so Sugar Ray, maybe you can get in the ring with him. And for a charity fundraiser, I think there's a lot of people who'd like to see that fight. It would be a good one.
I want a shot at the title.
Right. Oh, you'll get your shot. And next, our city controller, Wendy Gruhl.
That's hard to follow. I'm pleased to be here today to join all of you and to recognize those individuals that have made a difference in our community, and not only here in Los Angeles, but across this country and across the world. When we stand here, each of us, as the mayor often talks about, we stand on the shoulders of others. Those who have come before us and those who have spoken out on behalf of the less fortunate or those that didn't have a voice. It's very difficult at times to explain to our children or grandchildren some of the discrimination that occurred in the past and why it happened. But I think as we stand here today, we realize, as I was just talking to one of the Freedom Riders, that we have much more to do. That as much progress as we have made, and because of the people standing behind us, we have made that progress. We have a lot more to do, and it is incumbent upon us, not only in these months where we celebrate African American Heritage Month, but every day of the year that we continue to strive to say we are going to do better. And as we acknowledge those Freedom Riders, and just probably less than 6 months ago, there was a great event at the California African American Museum where we sat and heard the stories of what they went through and how their parents told them not to go, as I recall from many of them. But they said, we're going to go and stand up for the rights of all. And that really is a hero that we have here in Los Angeles. The second, of course, is Danny Bakewell. We all know that with the pen, as we've all been on the right and the wrong side of the pen of a newspaper, they have a lot of power and a lot of ability to sway people. And that's what Danny Bakewell has done throughout his life, is use that for the good of our communities and our neighborhoods. Now, and Herb talked about, you had little chills about, Sugar Ray Leonard. Okay, yours is because he's a great fighter, and I agree similarly to that, and a great public servant in what he's done. But I've got chills because I think he's the best-looking fighter around here in Los Angeles. So with that, I do want to say I'm pleased to be part of this. Thank you, Council President Garcetti, for letting me speak as well, and to thank the mayor and the leadership and all the sponsors to having this each month, and for us to remember each day we should celebrate our diversity of Los Angeles and African American History Month. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Next we have Councilmember Dennis P. Zine. Mr. Zine will be followed by Ms. Hahn, Mr. Labonte, and Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President, and greetings to all. I look around the chambers, standing room only in our chambers, and while we're acknowledging individuals, I want to acknowledge all the folks in this chambers that have come here today for this acknowledgement. I see Buffalo soldiers in the room. We know the Buffalo soldiers, what they did for America. Buffalo soldiers, please take a bow. There's the Tuskegee Airmen, who we know what they did for this beautiful country of ours. And while the mayor, when he brings the diversity of Los Angeles before us, we acknowledge, we show our respect, we show our appreciation. The mayor reaches out to the diversity of this beautiful city of the Angels. I'm a native of Los Angeles. My relatives came over on a boat from Lebanon, so I know what it is to have discrimination against an individual. And I know the struggle that is taken for many, many people. But to Danny Bakewell, I've known about you for many, many years. And what you have done to revitalize Los Angeles and Compton and Pasadena, radio stations in New Orleans and what you've done to help people and help employment and help the system work for people. I want to acknowledge you, Danny Bakewell. Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard, you are a man of class. You are a man who has been above the fray when it comes to your profession. You haven't demeaned the profession. You brought that profession to a standard of high acclaim, and I want to acknowledge you for that. And as Wendy Grew said, you've done it with class. A handsome man. That face is still pretty. Unlike Herb Wesson, you got a very pretty face. Unlike Herb Wesson. My colleague who I sit next to every day, who I love like a brother from another mother. But we have a bond in this council chamber. We have a bond delivering for the people of Los Angeles, and you've established yourself as a very credible person. And the work you do for diabetes, that's to be commended. And I know our mayor's been roasted. I'm getting roasted this year. The work that you do to help the people, to help combat that, I want to acknowledge you for that. The Freedom Riders. You know, it's interesting that African Americans come to the chambers and they're greeted with applause with the mayor, the council, the television cameras. But the Freedom Riders were greeted by the KKK with clubs, were beaten. How it's changed. And that was only in the 60s. That wasn't that long ago. The progress that has been made, where you don't judge a person by the color of their skin, but by their heart, their soul, their spirit. So the Freedom Fighters, what you did to bring about tranquility. But to think of going into a chamber and getting beaten just because of the color of your skin, outrageous in the United States of America. So the Freedom Riders, congratulations. God bless you, what you have done.
Thank you, Mr. Zine.
And I just want to say in closing, because I know my time's up, Mayor, you stand there so proud. You're a Latino, but you are a Latino that helps people. And it doesn't matter if it's Asian, African American, it doesn't matter where they're from. You are a mayor for this city to reach out to help all people. So I want to acknowledge our mayor for bringing this forward. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you. As a friendly reminder, council members' speeches we should try to keep at a minute per our policies. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just wanted to rise and congratulate all of today's honorees. Sugar Ray Leonard, our great friend and publisher, Danny Bakewell, the Freedom Riders, congratulations to you, and the stories behind your lives are still inspirational to this day and give us all something more to strive for in our own lives. I had such a great upbringing as a daughter of County Supervisor Kenny Hahn, who his whole life until the very end felt like one of his great moments was being the only politician to agree to greet Dr. King at our airport when he first came on his visit to Los Angeles. And then many years later, when he fought to build the Martin Luther King Hospital in South Los Angeles, he knew he wanted to name it after Dr. King. And it was after Dr. King's assassination, and he called Mrs. King at home, and he said, I know you don't know who I am, but we would love to honor your husband by naming this hospital after him. And she said, oh no, I know who you are, because when my Martin came home, he couldn't stop talking about how nice this white official had been to him. But, you know, besides celebrating African American history and heritage, we are living African American history today in the United States. I was so proud to join Americans on Tuesday night. I was in Washington, D.C. Watching our first African American president address this country for his State of the Union address. And I was excited as a woman when we elected our first African American Attorney General of the state of California, Kamala Harris. And in my last moments, I guess I should tell the mayor he's pretty. After Dennis's glowing remarks about the mayor. But I wanted to give a shout out to Larry Grant, stand up, Larry. the founder and creator and implementer of the greatest Martin Luther King Day parade in the country. The 26th year in Los Angeles, the 31st year in California, the biggest and best celebration of Dr. King anywhere. Thank you, Larry Grant, for your continued involvement in that and making that great for Los Angeles. And to our Author Study Club, thank you for what you do to remind us of the great reason that we celebrate African American Heritage Month. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Good morning. I rise for all people, but especially today in this great celebration, Mr. Mayor, African American History Month. I could call you pretty, but I can't call Bernard Parks pretty. You know, that's all right. He was the most beautiful People magazine. That's true. That's true, but I got to get it right.
People magazine confirmed.
What is so important is that we're here. What's so important that we learn. What's so important when my children come home from school and they tell me stories of African American history and all the other people. And all the other people. What's so special about this place is in 1973 when Tom Bradley got elected and opened the doors real wide. What's so special about this place is he had a youth council. And what's so special, I once was young. And I was on that youth council and gave me an opportunity to help people. And all the stories of all the honorees so special. I rise to salute you. And to all our guests, I say visit the Tom Bradley Tower. Know that this building has his name on the top of this building for all that he did. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alec.
I just give a last shout out to Bob Farrell. Bob Farrell, former council member, who, following Kenny Hanna the 8th, Gordon Hanna the 8th District, then it was Billy Mills, Bob C. Farrell, then it was Mark Ridley Thomas, Bernard Parks. So we caught it all the 8th District. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Our very own city historian, Tom Labange. Mr. Alarcon is next, then Mr. Huizar, Mr. Cardenas, and Mr. Reyes.
Well, this truly is an honor for us to be able to welcome you and celebrate your legacy. But I just want to share with you that we have a lot of work to do, and you have your history has set the tone for, I hope, the movement that continues. Just a few years ago, I was visiting with Pastor Andre Crouch, who is the pastor of a church in my district in Pacoima, and there was a white woman in the lobby as I was waiting for Pastor Crouch. And I asked her who she was and what she was doing, and she said she was a missionary from Minnesota, that her family had come to work in Pastor Crouch's church, and that she was shocked because her sons, who were attending a local high school, were trying to be recruited by, they weren't trying, the Ku Klux Klan was trying to recruit them on their campus. Now, that was just a few years ago. And I think it points to the challenges that remain today. That notwithstanding the fact that we do have an African-American president, we still have a long way to go. And whether the attack was on the Freedom Riders or on a 9-year-old girl in Tucson, Arizona, the attack was on America. And until we appreciate the civil rights movement, and will we see a day when America truly has arrived. I want to give a shout out to somebody who works on my staff, Bob Wynn. Bob Wynn was attacked by German Shepherds in Selma, Alabama, and his name is given a tribute on a bridge in Alabama. But he works in my office day in and day out, believing still in the cause. But when I was about 15 or 16 years old, Bob came back from that experience, became a labor organizer, and worked for the local 770 of the retail clerks. And my mom lost her job, and it was Bob Wynn who fought to get her job back. It took a year, and we struggled during that time, but the movement continued. Today, we have more unemployed, and I don't say this to embarrass anybody because we all suffer this consequence, but we have more people living in the streets. Just last night, my staff and I were out counting homeless people with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Organization. We have greater challenges today than we did even then. And even though many of us have arisen so far, let's not forget that the Freedom Ride is not over. Let's rejuvenate that cause again.
Thank you, Mr. Aliquin. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. And I think, Mayor, to you and your staff, you did an incredible job in the selection of the honorees for this African American Heritage Month for this month. It's really, truly an inspirational moment today as we think both about our past and the future, not only for African Americans, but for all of us. I wanted to touch upon something that my brother Herb Wesson mentioned, which was the struggle that we saw in the 60s with the Freedom Riders really benefited everyone. I have here something that Dr. King sent to Cesar Chavez at the time of his fasting in 1968. And he said, "Our separate struggles are really one, a struggle for freedom, for dignity, and for humanity. For humanity." And certainly all of us have benefited from that. And so my hat's off to the Freedom Riders and all those who put your own lives on the line for all of us to have what we have today. And as my brother Herb Wesson said, indeed, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the civil rights movement and what the Freedom Riders did. So thank you, and God bless you all. And to my brother Danny Bakewell, you know, Coretta Scott King once said about her husband's words that it wasn't so much what he said, but everything he did say was about action. If you see what he says, he was a great orator, great speaker, but everything he had to say was about getting people to act and do something. And that's what Danny Bakewell is all about. You know, he's out there doing stuff. After the disturbance, he wasn't about talking, he was about doing and demanding that South LA African Americans were no longer going to be ignored in the city of LA. I love you, brother. You do some great, great work. And finally, Sugar Ray Leonard, I've had the pleasure of seeing you at many events. And for someone to achieve what you've achieved, you know, some say, I did what I could, I'm going to live my life. But you're back. I see you in communities. I see you inspiring young people, talking to them, giving of your time and effort to many, many nonprofits. That is a sign of a true human being that cares about others, another person about action. God bless you. And I'm not a boxer. I didn't have the training that our city attorney did, but I wouldn't dare stand in the ring with you. But God bless you too, and we love you too.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much, Mayor and colleagues, for honoring these wonderful individuals. Rather than repeat what everybody has said, I want to congratulate all the honorees, but also I want to mention a few names of some folks that have been serving the city and my portion of the City Council, District Number 6. Rita Robinson, who retired just recently, Tony Royster, who's head of GSD, Angela Sherrick, David Pascal, Chief Earl Pasinger, Regina Adams, and John Reamer, and Steve Angeli, Richard Benbow, Rhonda Gaston, Antoinette Cristoval, Millage Peaks, and the list goes on and on and on. These are individuals who dedicated their lives and their career to serving the people of Los Angeles. So I think it's appropriate that we congratulate them as well. But one of the things that came to mind this morning was that the Freedom Riders, the work that they did was not for themselves as individuals, but it was just about trying to get this country to look deep and to realize that we should stand for what the Constitution says is equality for everybody, for every person, regardless of their skin color, regardless of where they come from, that people should be treated as human beings in this country, and that we should be true to those words. For far too long, we were not true to those words. And we do have some amendments that have actually brought us closer And I say closer because it would be wrong for us to say that we have come to a time where equality is in fact equal and everyone is treated equal. That's still not the case. And we all should look to ourselves to be this generation to make sure that the next generation doesn't suffer from that, as many generations have. I remember as a little boy, and I'll use this as an example. My parents came from Mexico. They spoke almost no English. I used to go to work with my father. He was a gardener. And as a little boy, it came to me as an adult, and I remember today, that I remember watching my father extending his hand to another man, and he wouldn't shake his hand. That's not equality. That happened right here in Los Angeles. And as a little boy, I was a little confused, and I just thought it was kind of curious. I didn't know what it meant. But that memory came flooding back to me right now. And I have seen with my own eyes, even as an elected official, I have extended my hand, and I have been denied. So we have a long way to go. But what I don't want is for my children and anybody else's children, for the next generation to be able to tell that story and that story to be true. We have a long way to go. We have many beautiful, wonderful people to thank for being selfless and for giving of themselves to take this country by a giant leap into where it should be. But we have a long way to go. And that's why this month we shall commemorate this community for being leaders, for demonstrating that no matter how they have been treated, no matter how they are treated by others, that they know that nonviolence, that respect is something that is deserved and that shall be earned with nonviolence. Thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes.
Mr. Mayor, guests, want to welcome you and thank you for being here. Councilman Cardenas, thank you for speaking from the heart. What you hear is passion about a human being, about communities that are fighting for their lives. And that is what you have done. That's what you have lived. But I like to think that we as Americans, as people, we have an incredible future in our connectivity to the countries we come from. When you look at the umbilical cords that nourish our cultures, it is an international relationship. And we are an international city. So I want to thank the mayor and our guests, because that is the strength we have for our children, for our future. Because now we can say that you will lose if you don't shake my hand. You will lose because you will understand the strength of my grip and the richness of my culture. And that is what the world is about, diversity and richness. And that is what we bring to the table as a great city and as a great country. And that is something our children will learn because of the sacrifices you have demonstrated in your history, in your sense of pride, and your sense of self-esteem, to know that we deserve something better than just gangs, than just dropout rates, drug addiction, the negativity that we hear in the press. We never hear about our celebrations and our richness. And that's something that we bring here to this community because it comes from our home, from our parents. So for that, I thank you, because now my children, they're 15, 17, 20-year-old, 22, they hear and read about Martin Luther King, about Bobby Kennedy, about Cesar Chavez. And they ask themselves, boy, that was in the past. I said, no, son, no, mija, it's now. That's why you need to graduate. That's why you need to be a leader, because that is about our future. But it started with you, and for that, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President.
First of all, Mayor Villaraigosa, thank you for bringing us together to recognize these incredible individuals, and in doing that also to recognize so much of what is great about Los Angeles. Because especially in difficult times, I think it's important that we take a moment to recognize the greatness of this city and its people. And this is another opportunity for us to do that. So thank you for that. It's a privilege to be in the presence of a great champion of sports like Sugar Ray Leonard, somebody that I've followed all of my life, and a great champion of civil rights and communication and economic empowerment like Danny Bakewell. And both of these individuals are leaders who are known throughout our nation and whose names will forever be etched in history. But of course, we also know that what is great about recognizing African American heritage is recognizing the bright stars of this community, but also recognizing the people who made a heroic difference, ordinary people who did extraordinary things whose names may not be recognized in history. And that's why it's such a privilege to be able to recognize the Freedom Riders. People who did what ordinary people should not be expected to do. Going onto buses, knowing that some of those buses had been firebombed. Stepping off of those buses in places where they know that Klansmen had beaten others before them. Still stepping up and doing that. Blacks and whites, Christians and Jews, men and women standing together for the principles that this country was founded upon and making it real by their own personal action and heroism. These may not be names that will be recognized by school children, but they are names, they're people who made a difference in the course of history. And that's a struggle that we all continue with today, as my colleagues have mentioned. It's a struggle that's before every family that's represented by people in this room. Too often, we don't recognize those that really make a difference in history. The people who stand up and make a difference in their neighborhood. People who mentor a child. People who volunteer for their church or volunteer for their schools. Those are the people who are really making this city great and making a difference, and the champions of everything that we stand for. We talked about how much work we still have to do, and that's important. Councilmember Cardenas talked about his family and their arrival here. Councilmember Zine talked about his family that came on a boat from Lebanon. My family arrived here on a boat from the Ottoman Empire under great duress. Some of the families here have, many of the families here have roots in slave ships. Others have roots that could be traced to the Mayflower. But as Dr. King said, it doesn't matter what boat we arrived here on, because we're sure in the same boat now. And we all have this mission ahead of us to make real what this country stands for. And for that, I really thank Mayor Villaraigosa, my colleagues, and all of our honorees today. You are making real what this country purports to stand for, and for that, I thank you.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, so many people have said so many amazing things about the folks that are here today that I'm not going to add much other than to say that I want a front row seat to the Carmen Trutanich Sugar Ray Leonard fight. But
no, you don't. It won't be much of a fight.
Yeah. I actually might not want to get that close because the blood might splatter on me a little bit. And I don't need to say whose it would be. Now, the one thing I do want to say a little bit more about is one person who is so important in our city's history, which is Mayor Tom Bradley. For me, as a junior high school student, he was the first politician to inspire me enough to actually get involved. And every afternoon and every weekend for months, I went out walking door to door, and I covered a significant portion of the West Side in 1969, working on his campaign. You don't want to know about my grades during that period. But we talked about courage, but people forget about the fact that this took a certain amount of courage. He knew this was going to be a somewhat racist campaign run against him, and predictably enough, it was a very race-based campaign, and he was defeated in 1969. And he could have said, I don't need this headache, and not come back and done it again. But he came back in 1973, he ran again against the same opponent, and this time he won. And he made an impact that we will never see again the likes of in 20 years as mayor. No disrespect to our current mayor, but he was an amazing mayor, the mayor, and we should not forget about that. He was a great leader, and he paved the way for so many things, so many good things to happen in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Ms. Perry.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm also pleased to welcome everyone to the council chamber. Thank you so much to the mayor for hosting the event today. I am reminded of, as I see the Freedom Riders and the reason that we're here today, of so many positive people and role models, and I wanted to share that on Martin Luther King's birthday, I read a letter to the place where I spoke that was written to me by my mother for that occasion, and she reminded us of her excitement and her fervor and her passion as they joined from the Midwest in the March on Washington. And in it she wrote that they rode through the night, and even though friends and relatives said this isn't a good idea, it isn't safe, and they left all of us at home with other relatives, and they had a stop in Pennsylvania, and it was dark, and they were all a little bit nervous. And she said another bus approached, and she heard people singing the words to "We Shall Overcome," and they were in strong voice, and it was a joyous sound. And she said that when they disembarked from their bus, she was stunned to see that they were all Caucasian, and she said that it gave her cause for hope and optimism that there were so many other people out there who were joining the cause and joining the movement to fight for equal rights for everyone, so that by the time they reached Washington, D.C., and she wrote to me in the letter that they dipped their tired feet into the reflecting pool as they took in the words of Dr. King. She knew that this country would continue to move forward. People of like minds and good hearts would continue to work together and to push forward to create something better for the ones who were coming behind us. And I see our living history here and here. My uncle is a Buffalo soldier, member of the 92nd Infantry out of Fort Huachuca, and my father and his brothers were all veterans. And I grew up hearing their story, and not only their story, but how the 442nd and the 92nd Infantry linked together in the European theater to fight to liberate the people of Italy, and the African American story is told there too by Spike Lee in The Miracle at Santa Ana. And so I say thank you to all of you for being here and to continue to make the rest of the city and the rest of the world know that our community is relevant, and we are alive, and we thrive, and we are inclusive, and we are here to teach you what it means to be an American. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, council members, and thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa, for an incredible presentation. I know we have one more speaker left. I just wanted to very briefly say thank you to our Freedom Riders, to a Freedom Writer, and to a Freedom Fighter. We brought together three incredible groups and individuals of people who have inspired each one of us. And when you look at the African Americans or people of African descent who founded this city and who help run this city today, we have seen in America that African Americans are more patriotic than even the average enthusiastic American, serve in public service more in a higher percentage. Our employees in the public sector, they choose that route to go to serve the people in a higher percentage than any other ethnic group, serve in our military in a higher percentage than their population. This is something we can all celebrate, and I want to thank Bernard Parks, and I want to thank also Herb Wesson and Jan Perry for their great representation of the community here, Ms. Hahn as well, and thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa, and congratulations to all of our honorees today. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. I was mentioning, let me just say this, I was mentioning to Herb Wesson that it's amazing what this celebration has done to inspire all of you to speak with such passion today. But as I said, this isn't just put on by me, my office, by Valerie, and all of the folks in my office that helped to make this happen. Our Author Study Club has been very involved and spearheaded this effort with us. As you know, they're one of 53 branches of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, founded by Carter G. Woodson, and their mission is to preserve, interpret, and disseminate information about African American life, history, and culture to the citizens of Los Angeles. And we'd like Ken Bentley to say a few words before we unveil the poster. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa. Good morning. I'm honored to be the chairperson, honorary chairperson for the 2011 Author Study Club observance of African American Heritage Month. It's also a distinct pleasure that we partner with Mayor Villaraigosa and the City of Los Angeles as we kick off the celebration of African American Heritage Month in the city. As the mayor said, the celebration began over 60 years ago on the steps of the Los Angeles City Hall under the leadership of our Author Study Club and Mayor Fletcher Bowron. Our Author Study Club is one of 53 branches of the Association of the Study of African American Life and History and was founded by noted historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1915. Our national headquarters is located on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. Immediately following the program, we will continue the celebration on the South Lawn, where we will recognize several community organizations. I look forward to celebrating additional special events hosted by the mayor and our Author Study Club during the months of February and March. Thank you very much.
And the mayor is going to lead the unveiling of our art for the month. We have calendars available from the Department of Cultural Affairs as well that detail all the events that will be happening throughout the month as well. No. Well, I was not for them. I was alone. I do expect nice to see you. That's why we're here. While we're taking those photographs, colleagues, if I could direct your attention to the agenda, I'm going to ask the city clerk to call the roll. And again, thank you. I know that the celebration will continue outdoors on the South Lawn. We invite all Angelinos to join us there and to celebrate African American Heritage Month, throughout this entire month and today on the South Lawn. Mr. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 14 members present and a quorum. Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Smith enthusiastically moves those, and Mr. Weezer enthusiastically seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Krikorian moves, and his colleague, Mr. Koretz, seconds. Without an objection, those will be approved as well. Colleagues, we're going to run through the individual items on today's agenda. If you can please direct your attention to the agenda for any items you wish to call special. If we can go through the first items, please.
Mr. President, items 1 through 21 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 13 and 14 have been submitted and distributed to Council. Further, Council has a request from members to continue items 10 and 21 to February 2.
I can ask folks to, as quietly as possible, we really appreciate your presence here as we go through the agenda for today to make sure we can hear the items that are before us. If there's no objection to continuing item 21, we'll continue that until February 2nd.
That was item 10
sorry,
as well,
10?
sir.
And item 10 as
So we
well.
have 10 and 21 to February 2nd, and item 7 to February 11th.
Okay. Without objection, Mr. Reyes and Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Reyes?
Council President, item 15 special, please.
Okay. From Mr. Reyes, item 15, Mr. Cardenas?
Item 19 and 20 special.
19 and 20 for Mr. Cardenas. Thank you.
And a hold 18 for Ms. Hahn.
Okay. 18 for Ms. Hahn. Any other specials, colleagues, for items 1 through 21? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll. And please tabulate the vote on the ballots.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 22 through 29 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. There are requests from members to continue item 23 to February 2 and item 26 to February 9.
Okay, without objection, colleagues, item number 23 will continue until February 2nd, Groundhog's Day, and item 26 will continue until the 9th of February as well. Specials, Mr. Cardenas.
Item 24 for amendments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll call that special, Mr. Cardenas. Item number 24. Do we have cards on any of these from the public?
Yes, sir, we do. That would be item 4, which Mr. Cardenas just called special. Item 27 and item 28, sir.
Okay, we'll call it special for cards from the public, 27 and 28. And if we can take the balance, I believe that's just 22, 25, and 29. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can take up next item, please.
On the continuation agenda, item 30 is an item for which a public hearing has been held.
Okay. Item 30 has already had a hearing. It does require a motion. Is that correct? Or is that usually on the public convenience of necessity?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's go ahead then and prepare the roll on item... Sorry, Mr. Rizar? Yeah, 30?
Can we call that special, please, for Mr. Alarcon?
Sure.
Okay.
You got it. Mr. Alarcon will call that special. Next item, please.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 31. It is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, there's no objection and no card. We'll close the public hearing. Anyone wishing to call number 31 special? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
All right, that is approved. We'll go back to our, oh yes, Mr. Parks?
18 forthwith.
18 forthwith without objection. It's been called special, actually, Mr. Parks, by Ms. Hahn. We'll go back to our presentations, and Councilmember Herb Wesson from the 10th Council District. Thank you. I know there are folks here for a couple other presentations. We appreciate your patience as we commemorated African American Heritage Month, and like to recognize Mr. Wesson for our next presentation. He'll be followed by Council District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Today has been a phenomenal day, but I also have a close, very close personal friend that I'd like to recognize on this day, Jerry Edwards. Now, let me tell you a little something about Jerry Edwards. He's the owner of I don't know exactly what to call it. Technically it's a restaurant bar, but it is really a place that everyone in this city of color has been to several times in their life. It's called the Flying Fox. The Flying Fox just last month celebrated its 50th year. And when it started, blacks were not allowed there. They weren't allowed until the Bostic family bought it in 1959. The woman's name was Hildegard Bostwick, and her husband was Earl Bostic, who was a saxophonist. In 1955, a very tall, very successful insurance salesman that had the ability to talk a blind dog off of a meat truck took over ownership of the Flying Fox. And he took that charm and his natural charisma, doubled the size, made it a legitimate restaurant, not just a place with a bar and a jukebox. He brought in top top-notch performers from all over the country. I have just to name a few. The first live act at the Flying Fox was Johnny Taylor, and he was followed by Little Milton, Sam Fletcher, Earl Garner, Lou Rawls, Joe Turner, Joe Williams, and Ernie Andrews, who still goes there today. Such athletes: Muhammad Ali, Oscar Robinson, Jim Brown, Larry Holmes, Sugar Ray Robinson. The oldest African-American Democratic club west of the Mississippi River is the New Frontier Democratic Club. It started at Jerry Edwards' Flying Fox. His cook, chef, where is it? Oliphant, but I know that I can't find it for Eddie. Is a chef, Eddie Oliphant has been with Mr. Edwards for 35 years. And every Friday, if you want some gumbo, that's the place to be. This is a man who is more than just a successful businessman. It's a man that has reached out to so many people. We talked of Tom Bradley today. Tom Bradley's campaign people would go there and strategize. Diane Watson, former congresswoman and senator, strategize. I've had meetings there for my campaign. He's been a friend, a longtime supporter of mine. At this point in time, I'd like to honor him for all of the years of service and all of the great food that he's given to the people of the city of Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Jerry Edwards. Maybe we can take a picture, please. Thank you. Don't drop it. Here,
I won't drop it. Thank you very much. I'm very honored. And I can't cry. And the truth is, when I first came to this city, the City Hall was the tallest building here. It's grown, and everything I found has evolved from this building. I look around at some of the council people here, and I say to you, I know Jimmy Hahn. Hahn has been there. I was standing in the hallway, or in the street, when one of the persons that's on this council today, I was with his dad, and he was very proud of the fact that his son had been elected to this council. He is today, and he introduced me to that person. This is my son. He is going to be a fantastic person, and we see that that's evolved because now he's the president of this council. And I tell you, it's been a part of this city. What I've done in all these years is whenever I go, I try to say that I'm not from L.A., I'm from Los Angeles. From Los Angeles. As Los Angeles has been a part of my life, and I expect to continue to be here in Los Angeles. And I say to you, whenever you go anyplace else, don't let them call it L.A. Like San Francisco, you can't call Frisco. They'll get after you about that. They'll say to you, call us San Francisco. So at that, I know that we should be Los Angeles. I'm very honored. I want to thank Councilman for doing this for me.
Your friend, you think.
And I have other things to say about this man and I've been in his district, I've voted in his district since 1953 when I came to this city. And I'll tell you what happens with him. You don't have to call his office and ask or tell them what you want to talk to him about. You call his office and tell him, and they'll tell you when you can see him. They don't say, well, tell us the nature of your call, which is very important. I found that other things that are necessary, that he doesn't have to have a whole lot of outsiders come and tell him, outstanding people come out of everywhere to stand up and say why he ought to vote for him, because he's got people in the community that he's helped, and they'll be happy to come out and support him. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you and congratulations. We have a couple other presentations as well. Is Councilmember Alarcon prepared? Councilmember Alarcon, are you ready for your presentation? I'd like to recognize you at this time.
We were supposed to go number 4. I thought we were going number 4.
All right, sorry, I messed up that order. I'd like to recognize then Councilmember Paul Koretz.
We're here today to honor a great leader in our city whose work not only benefits the city of Los Angeles, but the entire world. Today we honor Jewish World Watch co-founder and president Janice Kaminer Resnick. Janice has long been recognized as one of Los Angeles' most influential activists, having dedicated her life to tackling social injustices in an effort to make our world a better and more tolerant place. The Jewish World Watch, which she helped to found, works to end genocide and human rights horrors worldwide. And personally, I've known Janice for many years and worked with her in the legislature, and I've been inspired and so thankful for all of her great work. And I just want to mention how great it was working with her at the state. I did a bill to have the state's pension systems divest from corporations doing business with the Sudan to help try to halt the genocide that was happening there in Darfur. And Janice and Jewish World Watch were the primary organizations that helped us, and we never could have passed that legislation without her. And she also was a big help to my daughter, who did in her high school a Darfur Awareness Day each year, and Jewish World Watch, of course, provided a lot of the education and support for that. And so on January 1st of this year, Jewish World Watch will honor Janice at an event called Global Soul, a celebratory dinner and program honoring her work and vision that will be held in Los Angeles' Sinai Temple and will attract over 600 dedicated activists, youth, and community leaders. And before we read the official city proclamation, I'd love to have my colleague and co-presenter of this resolution, Paul Krikorian, speak, and followed by other dignitaries, and then we'll read the commendation.
Thank you, Paul. When I was a young lawyer, Janice Kaminer Resnick was already a leader in the legal profession, even though she was only a couple of years ahead of me. But she was really, at an early age, in an early time in her career, recognized as a pillar in our profession, an inspiration to many young lawyers, and especially women, through her work with California Women Lawyers, the California Women's Law Center, and in many other ways. And for that leadership of the legal profession alone, that would be worthy of recognition. But for me, what's been most notable is her work as the visionary leader and inspiration in Jewish World Watch, which is an organization that has really been done historic work in fighting against current human rights abuses throughout the world, teaching the world the lessons of impunity, of genocide, which resonates especially for me as an Armenian American member of a community that has suffered genocide that remains unpunished. So for all of these reasons, it's tremendous to be able to stand here with Councilmember Koretz and recognizing the great leadership of Janice Kaminer Resnick, who's been an inspiration to many and whose work is making a difference to people throughout the world.
And if there are others from the organization that would like to say a few words? Or
Is that for me?
no. Anyone else? Maybe Rabbi Schulweis.
You want to introduce Rabbi Schulweis?
Pastor Koretz.
Mr.
I just want to introduce Pastor Costa Rica, who is the pastor of the local Congolese community, who is a tremendous advocate relative to the destruction going on in eastern Congo, and one of our main coalition partners at Jewish World Watch. And I've invited him here today just to say a couple of comments on behalf of his people.
Thank you. Yes. I'm here on the behalf of the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo to say thank you to Mrs. Janice Resnick, also with Rabbi Schliess, and together to the city of Los Angeles. The Congolese community in Los Angeles and Southern California and our church are so grateful for the work that Janice is doing to help stop the genocide that is going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo today. It's really from deep of our heart, expression of gratitude from us to say thank you, Janice, to be the voice of the people who cannot speak. Remembering the 5.4 million people who had died in the Democratic Republic of Congo these last 15 years. And Janice has accepted to be the voice of those people. Not only those ones, also hundreds of thousands of people who are being raped in a very cruel manner today in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So, on behalf of the people of Congo, wherever they may be, we want to say again thank you, and thank you for the city of Los Angeles, because we know that it's because of what the city of Los Angeles gave you as environment that you are able to do what you are doing for us in the Congo today. So thank you also, the city of all of you Angelinos, especially through the mayor and the city council. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koretz. We have a couple of council members who want to make remarks.
If I could briefly introduce, just to acknowledge Rabbi Schulweis, one of the great leaders of the Jewish community and co-founder of Jewish World Watch. And I'd also like to give Janice a chance to say a few words.
Certainly.
Thank you so much, council members, Kokori and Koretz and all of you. By honoring me today, you have actually once again put forth your conscience. You've demonstrated your conscience and your sense of humanity. This was the very first city council that actually was the first city in the country to pass the divestment resolution that council member Koretz just spoke of when we came before you 5 or 6 years ago with a group of school children from Temple Israel of Hollywood asking for the divestment of any kind of resources from those who are perpetrating the genocide in Darfur, and you led the way for this country. And now we're working with you again with respect to the conflict minerals resolution, which I know we're working with your president's, President Garcetti's office, to try to ensure that this council will once again use its influence and demonstrate its conscience and its sense of humanity. So I'm very proud to actually be a part of the growth and development of this organization, which has worked in coalition so effectively with the Armenian community, and I know that there's a representative here today from the Armenian National Committee, Ermin Sergizian, and we've worked with the Darfuri community, we've worked with the Archdiocese, with the Catholic community, and with the Christian community, and of course with the Congolese community. We've worked with rabbis throughout the city. This is an organization that encompasses 90% of the synagogues in this city, representing about 350,000 members of Los Angeles who have spoken up all together in a unified voice. We don't agree on everything, and maybe not on most things, but we all agree that speaking out against genocide is an absolutely fundamental way and way to use our mouths and purpose for us to be here. So I want to thank all of our great supporters, some of whom have come here today. Our Executive Director, Sylvia Schwartz-Getzig, who's an amazing, amazing Executive Director. My incredible husband, who's here with me, who supports everything I do all the time, who I'm sure you're all glad to have a Resnick in front of you who's not asking for something. So
that is for sure.
For that, you can all thank those who've introduced this resolution. But
We're not done.
Oh, yikes. Okay. And I just wanted to say how grateful I am. I see myself as a symbol for what you believe in and what you stand for. And I think that it makes us all very proud to be residents of the city and to have such great leadership as you've demonstrated. So we will come back again to talk about the conflict minerals resolution, which will actually be the beginning step to help stop the rape of the women of Congo and hopefully bring some peace to that region. We appreciate all your support every year when we do our walk, which brings out about 4,000 people each year in this city to walk against genocide. And we invite you all to join us on April 10th and on February 1st, which is this coming Tuesday, if you'd like to be part of our Global Soul. But thank you again for all of your recognition for this cause, for me personally and my family, my daughter, my mother, my in-laws. We're all here, and we're very happy to be recognized like this. I said my daughter. Yes, I did. Devi. Okay, thank you.
Janice, thank you very much. Mr. Kokori, Mr. Koretz, thank you. Ms. Hahn.
And I just wanted to rise and give my support and congratulations as well to Janice. I was listening this morning to the earlier presentation of all of those who have gone before us to fight for freedom and to get rid of oppression for African Americans everywhere. It's so appropriate that we're also honoring you today, Janice, because it's your bravery and your courage and your willingness to use your skills and your influence for good. I remember when I was invited to someone's home on the Palos Verdes Peninsula, and I was spellbound by your presentation on the atrocities in Darfur, and I left that feeling more committed to whatever way I could to support you and to help you in what you're doing. So thank you for being a fighter for those who are oppressed. Thank you for being the voice of hope for those around the world who may not feel anyone is paying attention or anyone cares to bother to do things to change their situations. And so for women everywhere, we thank you for what you're doing. And to your wonderful husband, Ben, who also spends his life fighting for those who may not feel they have another voice as well. The two of you really are a great power couple, but for good. And we appreciate you, Janice. And I just wanted to rise and tell you how proud I am of you. And congratulations to the Jewish World Watch for honoring you. That is clearly appropriate.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. Two great Janices in the room together, and I'm sure she wants to know your opinion about shipbuilding as well, but we'll keep that beside today. I will be brief, but don't allow my brevity to in any way undercut the strength of how I feel today and how proud I am of you and of Jewish World Watch. As a Jew, as somebody who's worked with you, as somebody who has for so long made sure that we have an ethic that we have carried in our particular history, for that not to just be something in the history books, but a living, breathing history that every time a Jewish child or a fellow Angelino is born into this city, to be reminded of what that responsibility is to humanity. And it's only in LA where we could have African American Heritage Month and then the Congolese community, which I've also been proud to work closely with for many years, which is a huge community here. I mean, in Los Angeles, that African heritage is something that's living and breathing, and who we have been in civil rights and human rights is embodied so well by you and by Jewish World Watch. So congratulations. I hope February 1st is a great event for you, well-deserved, and let us take that continuing strength of when people ask, why do we talk about these things here in LA City Council? There's two reasons. One, because it affects human beings that actually live here in LA. Congolese community, for instance, is part of our neighbors and of our co-workers and of our city. But secondly, even if there wasn't a single person of Congolese descent, it would be the thing that Angelenos should do, must do, that Jews should and must do. And by bringing that together, you've been an amazing visionary. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Reyes.
I just wanted to rise and thank all of you. You have made it very evident that this is a world community, and it's centered in these great international locations we call Los Angeles. We also wanted to thank Janice for meeting a gentler and kinder Resnick. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
He's very gentle and very kind, for the record.
Mr. Weezer.
Mr. Resnick's not working here today, so I'll refrain. But Janice, and to all who have worked on this issue, you know, out of sight, out of mind is no way to treat a human tragedy when one is occurring. And you all have raised this issue to a level of us understanding and being aware for us to take action. I've been following this because of the presentations that have been made in this council. After that, it alerted me, and I've educated myself and made me more aware of what's going on to see how I can help as an official in the city of Los Angeles. Tremendous work you're doing. Thank you. Standing up, one voice could allow others to follow, to create that storm we need to make this world a better place. Thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer, and thank you, everybody. And I love the story, Janice. You spoke so eloquently. I think you should replace your husband sometime down here. I love what you said about Temple Israel, the children who started all this. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Krikorian.
Anybody else? Thank you. I brought buttons and postcards and wristbands for all of you and your staff, so they're right here.
Can I add something?
Yeah,
Yes, can I add something?
And recognizing the lateness of the hour, I won't read the entire resolution. I'll just note that it recognizes the career of someone who's made an amazing difference on human rights and has truly changed the world.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I could ask that we just take a few moments. I have one more person that would like to speak very briefly.
Oh, okay. Just a sec. Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Yumbo from the Congolese community. Thank you, Councilman Garcetti. I remember that you dancing on the Congolese music last time I saw you. I want to thank, of course, all the council member. You are fantastic for Los Angeles. I want to thank, of course, Janice. She's great. One of the things I want to thank her because as they send Jewish World Watch, don't stand idly by. Don't wait for someone to tell you to help someone else. And Jewish World Watch has been doing that for, quite a while now. And that's what the United States stand for. Don't wait for someone to tell you. Be your sister's keeper, brother's keeper. And that's what we're supposed to do, and that's what we need to lead all the young Los Angelenos to do exactly the same thing. And I'm very proud and honor myself to have a person like Janice honor here, so that shows us exactly the hope and the future of Los Angeles. So thank you again. Thank you, Janice. You are fantastic.
Thank you all.
Thank you again, Mr. Koretz and Mr. Krikorian. As we move from the podium there, I'd now like to call on the great councilman of the 8th District, who's going to salute some great champions of this city. Call on Bernard Parks.
you.
Let's welcome Councilman Bernard Parks of the 8th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask our coach, Robert Ambers, to come up at this time, and then ask the city champion, View Park Prep High School City Section 8-man championship team to come up at this time. Without 11 men. I'm sorry, 11 men. I cut you short a couple. I'm sorry. All right. And then we'd ask the administrators of the school, parents, all to come up at this time. Everybody come up. Colleagues, you may recognize some of these young people because they were here last year being honored for a similar award. We are very pleased that we selected today as part of African American Heritage Month that they had an opportunity to be here to see so many of the legends of our community, from the Tuskegee Airmen, the Buffalo Soldiers, Danny Bakewell, publisher of the LA Sentinel, our Authors Club, which is one of the mainstays that in our community and across this nation that retains the history of the black community. These are the people that I'm sure they are reading about in their civics class. And then we can't forget Ray Leonard, our super champion that was here. One of the things I think is going to be so important as they learn the history of this city, the very place that their school is located at approximately 57th and Crenshaw, in the 50s and 60s, people of color could not even live in that community where their school is currently located. So this is something that is a transition of the community. But the View Park Preparatory High School is being honored for two things. One, they won the 3A championship for football, but they also are being honored because they earned the honor of the top football team academically amongst 72 teams in the city. And so, there's a 43-man team achieved a grade point average of 3.3. They finished the California Interscholastic Federation for LA City Division III champions. Division III is a small school team such as View Park Prep, which is a public charter. But the competition is amongst all varsity teams in LA Unified District and independently run charters in the region. 22 teams entered the academic competition. We have here today their head coach, Robert Ambers, who enforces a mandatory 1.5 hour study hall session every other day for football players to ensure that they keep up their grades. Today we'd like to congratulate them for the third straight year being #1 in football, and their first year, we hope, of many to follow, to be #1 academically in all LA City Unified School District. Coach Ambers, come on up. Great. After you speak, we get a player to represent this team to speak.
Okay. Just want to say thank you for being here today. You know, we believe, teach the kids that to be champions in the classroom first, and then champions on the field, and if they do that, they'll be champions in life. I'm just so proud of this team that not only did we win our third straight football championship, but we're #1 in all the schools of Los Angeles in the highest GPA grade point average in the Los Angeles city. And I'm just really proud of these kids. These young men are going to be our next doctors, lawyers, attorneys, mayors. They're going to come back to the community and work in the city. Just really proud of them. And I'd like for two representatives from the team to speak. Is Malik Dothard, who just got a 3.9 point grade point average. He's been accepted to he's been accepted to Arizona State, University of Florida, University of Miami. He's going to go to college and major in engineering. So I'd like for him to talk a few minutes.
Speaking on behalf of my team, I'd like to say that we're proud, and we're successful because we're determined and for the motivation that we get from our coaches and from our teachers at school, so our coaches can help us stay motivated to get good grades, and then we continue to exhibit our determination on the field and at practice, and thank you.
Could you just, as a great team representative, give me your name and your position?
I'm Lee Douther, I'm safety.
Safety. Good job, Lee. Good job, Lee. Thank you. Congratulations.
One more is our quarterback, Garen Edwards.
Hello, everybody. On behalf of our View Park Knights football team and coaching staff, we would like to thank you for honoring us today. We greatly appreciate it, and we all have worked tremendously hard to cap off this season with a championship. With the help of our parents, Principal Dr. Williams, teachers, and administrators, we were able to be successful on the field and in the classroom. They set standards for us every day. They pushed us to work hard and never give up in class. And as you see, our academics is showed, and we're the #1 school in the city with a 3.3 average. And hopefully we'll have this opportunity next year because we'll win the championship and put in the hard work again. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Also, just want to say one last thing. We recognize that our principal, Dr. Darnese Williams, she's from the 8th District. She went to school in the 8th District at Crenshaw High School. And just want to say thank you to Darnese Williams. And also we have our CEO here who we all love, and we're so thankful for her. She came in and she saved us. I just wanted her to say a few words. That's Miss Caprice Young. Right here.
You were there?
I just want to say what a complete honor it is to be able to serve these young people and partner with their parents and our brilliant educators and our amazing coach. It's an honor every day for me to get to do that. And I just want to say that anyone who says that any children in Los Angeles can't achieve academically, athletically, and artistically, they just don't know what they're talking about, because the students at Inner City Education Foundation with View Park as our championship school, all of our kids that graduate go to college, and now, after 4 years in college, 90% of our kids are still in college, and that's amazing.
And Coach, one last thing, if you could. I want to see the center, because it doesn't happen until the center snaps the ball. Where's the center? Give a shout out to the center. Introduce yourself.
Tell me grade point average, too.
Yeah.
My name is Jordan McMichael. I play center. My grade point average is at 3.4.
Good job. Good job. Okay.
I just want to say, Caprice, I didn't know you were there, but thank you for being here, and the principal and the coach. In behalf of the City Council, we wanted to present this to you. We're going to take some photos in the back, but also have an individual certificate for every ball player and also one for the cheerleaders. We wanted to say on behalf of the City Council, thank you for not only being champions on the football field, but to be #1 in all of the City of Unified School District football teams to have an academic average of 3.3. And I believe this school sends about 90+% of its students to 4-year colleges. And that is a remarkable achievement for any school, but over 90+% of each of the graduates go to a 4-year college. And I think that's very, very commendable, and it shows that you can be educated, you can learn, and you can be a part of a positive program on Crenshaw Boulevard. And so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Congratulations to you and the entire team. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Something to Mr. Parks from the football team. We're very proud to be from the 8th District. And where's that, fellas? Oh, my goodness. We have a number 8 for the 8th District, and this is for Mr.
All right.
Parks.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'll give you this. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mr. Parks, and congratulations to all of you for great accomplishments. And
By the team. That's right.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and congratulations, everybody. With that, if I can ask the Sergeants at Arms we'll take a brief break while we await the council members to return for the business portion of the meeting. And we'll be back in session in just about a minute or two. And before that, we'd like to recognize Councilmember Alarcon for the last presentation. My apologies. I thought we got covered. One last one. My apologies, colleagues. You have a couple more minutes. Mr. Alarcon has his last presentation.
Council members, first if I could ask everybody to step forward. We have a large group today, but as you know, we just received our W-2s, I think last week, from the City of Los Angeles, which reminds us that tax season is upon us. And the City of Los Angeles has been a vanguard, particularly under Mayor Villaraigosa, to try and make sure we get every dollar we can from our tax returns. The fact of the matter is that last year over $1 billion went unclaimed in California, and over $300 million is left unclaimed in Los Angeles alone, based on a report by the New America Foundation. What I am speaking of is the Earned Income Tax Credit. And so we are here once again to promote the information about Earned Income Tax Credit, because there are many hundreds, if not thousands, of families that are not taking full advantage of their Earned Income Tax Credit. And we are losing literally millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to our local economy as a result. So we are here to recognize some folks who are promoting that idea, that in fact people use their Earned Income Tax Credit. This program is part of the ARA funding. And so while people take for granted the dollars that went to the banks and the lending institutions, they neglect the fact that money also went to the entire workforce in the form of Earned Income Tax Credits. And so we have to continue to remind them. And our Community Development Department has been a vanguard for us in that respect. But we are particularly honored today because we have the Western States Area Director for the Internal Revenue Service, somebody who is welcome far and near to their community. But this is something positive that we can ask of the IRS, because they are actually wanting to give us more money. And so it is a great honor for me to introduce Quinton Smith, the IRS Western States Area Director, who has taken the information to another level this year, especially in California. And I'll let him tell you about that. But with that, I'd like to present Quinton Smith from the IRS.
I'd like to thank the council and also Councilman Alarcon for inviting us here to speak. You know, the number 13 to many people is an unlucky number. When you think about 13, many hotel rooms don't even have a floor 13. You know, many superstar athletes don't like wearing the number 13. Even, I understand that Formula One doesn't even have a car at number 13. And to me, I have children, and the official age for a child to turn a teenager is number 13. And we know how troublesome that can be sometimes. So, but here's the term for fear of 13. It's triskaidekaphobia. That's the term for fear of 13. But in my context here, we don't have a fear today, because 13 years ago, the City of Los Angeles Community Development Department, along with other governmental agencies, including the Internal Revenue Service and the County of Los Angeles, they went on an independent search to let citizens in Los Angeles know about the Earned Income Tax Credit, money that they were not claiming. Fast forward that 13 years, and we're sitting here today, or standing here today, and Councilman Alarcon, he wanted to know how many people were not claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit here in Los Angeles. And through his efforts, and with help from the IRS, we were able to notify, get this, almost 13,000 citizens in Los Angeles about the earned income tax credit that they did not claim. So we hope this year that almost 13,000 will claim that credit. And beyond that, Councilman Alarcon wanted to also help citizens throughout the state of California. So we were able to send out almost 46,000 letters to citizens that did not claim the credit. So we want to thank you, Councilman Alarcon, for that dedication and devotion to making sure people claim that credit. It's very rare you get free money, money that you've earned. And I've been with the IRS for 30 years. And this is a program where people have earned the money, we want them to earn it and claim it. So we thank you all for your help, and we look forward to working with you further in the year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and I just want to state for the record that here we do not skip number 13. In fact, I'm proud to represent Council District 13, and it is the best council district in the city. All right, Mr. Alarcon.
From the lucky 13th district, our president, Eric Garcetti. What are we talking about here? We're talking about real cash. And so a family with one child can receive a return of just for the earned income tax credit of $3,043. 2 children, $5,028. 3 children, $5,657. And even if you have no children and qualify for the income standards, you can get $457. It's a lot of money. I witnessed last year a family that earned no money. They earned no money that year. They were able to get over $2,000 in earned income tax credits. So this is something that the working folks of Los Angeles and even those who've suffered with unemployment should check into, because we are not getting these dollars into Los Angeles, and obviously that helps boost our economy. Our vanguard, as I said, on our project here in the city family is the Community Development Department. And I can tell you they are doing an incredible job working with not only the IRS, but with a lead organization in the community, the United Way. And so I'd like to ask Robert Sines, the Assistant General Manager of CDD, to tell us why they're devoting their passion to this effort.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm not Robert. Hi, Lisa Salazar, Community Development Department. CDD is proud to be here today with members of its 21 Family Source Centers. We have Family Source Centers spread across the city, and I'm proud to say that they are on track to serve 50,000 Angelinos this year by helping them to improve their economic status as well as improve the education status and success of their children. We want to thank the Mayor and the City Council for their continued support of the Family Source system. We want to especially thank Councilman Alarcon for his leadership in championing the EITC and VITA programs. I want you to know that this is work that our Family Source Centers do is above and beyond of the normal call of duty, and we're here and we're proud to be here today. I would encourage everyone here to help us get the word out about the free tax preparation services that are available at the Family Source Centers. You can find your local Family Source Center by calling the city's 311 line. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Reyes wanted to add, is it appropriate time for Mr. Reyes to add his good wishes?
I just wanted to stand and give a shout out to the Family Source Centers, to Michael, to all of you. No one understands just how hard you work. I see the challenges. Cypress Park Center is a great center, but you guys are just amazing. I just want to give you a shout out for all the hard work. In these trying times, in these turbulent waters, with our economy the way it is, it's easy to kind of get lost in this storm, but I want you to know that you're like that lighthouse that creates relief for many families, and I thank you for all your hard work. Just want to take a moment to say that. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. And
Oh, Mr. Weezer, I'm sorry.
Just quickly, Council District 14 has been the beneficiary of all the hard work of some of the Family Source Centers. I want to thank you from our photographer for today, Rolo Estrada. I always like him. He's not always follows the crowd. He does his own thing all the time. I saw Tommy Membreno in the back. Thank you for your work, and the Lucio Becerra Center. You guys do some incredible work. And now, in addition to this, working to make sure people have this service, it shows that you are not only doing the work that you're designated for from the city, but going beyond the call of duty. So thank you very much. I know that Barrio Action is already hard at work signing up some of these seniors in El Sereno, and you guys are hard at work doing that. Thank you so much for this and for everything else you do.
Well, just before those comments, I was going to say that that the Family Source Centers, one of the things they do is provide the VITA program, the Voluntary Income Tax Assistance Program. So at 21 sites at the Family Source Centers, people can go and get free income tax assistance, and with a focus on the Earned Income Tax Credit. I want to point out and thank the IRS publicly, because it wasn't, for many, many years, there were 1 in 4 people who were eligible for the EITC who are not filing for it. And I can tell you that now, because of all the efforts of the IRS and the organizations that we are recognizing today, and many more, by the way, that number has changed to 1 in 5. So instead of 25% of the people not getting this benefit, it is down to 20%. That means 80% of the people are getting the benefit, and we hope that 100% of the people will get that benefit. So I have certificates to recognize all of these people, but before I do that, I do want to invite Janet McIntyre from United Way, the United Way's EITC campaign. She is the coordinator of this effort, and I can tell you that they have been a full-blown partner with CDD and the IRS to promote this throughout their network of human service program providers. Janet?
Thank you. On behalf of the United Way of Greater Los Angeles, I actually want to share with you a story of an EITC recipient, Melissa Lopez. Her story is special, not unique, in that there are countless others who've benefited from the EITC credit. Hers is special just because of who she is and how she's partnered with one of our partner organizations, the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation. 2 years ago, Melissa Lopez was 19 years old, and she was the sole provider of her 1-year-old son, and she herself was a foster youth, so she didn't have any family or relatives to rely on to support her and her family. She received some job training at MAOF and then secured her very first job there ever as a data entry clerk. She then realized that she could get her taxes done there for free, and her refund initially was about $3,000, and her EITC credit was over $2,000. As she got her taxes prepared, the VITA site there encouraged her to consider opening up a ramp-up account, which is basically a savings account in which part of her tax refund can be invested into this. The timing couldn't have been better, because shortly thereafterwards, her car broke down and died. And with the tax refund and the savings that she started, she was able to purchase a car, which eliminated her commute having to be tripled and having to figure out how to take care of her young child, because she had to do child care pickup and drop off and pick up after work. So that solved a huge dilemma for her. 2 years later, she's now 21 years old. Her son is actually 2.5 years old, and she continues to work there at MAOF, and now she herself volunteers her time as a VITA volunteer. She now, on top of taking care of her child and working there, she spends a few hours every week preparing other people's taxes. This past week, she got her own taxes done there once again, and she received approximately $3,900 in a refund, and $2,700 of that was the earned income tax credit. When the volunteer asked her what she planned to do with the refund, she said this time she plans to save all of it, this time mostly for her child's college education fund. So again, her story is one of many. It's not a unique one. It's a very special one because we've gotten to know her, and it represents many things that the EITC can do, especially if you reinvest it and decide to do something special with it in the case that she has here. So thank you so much on the behalf of the United Way of Greater Los Angeles for your support of the Earned Income Tax Credit. We hope that you'll all promote this in your districts this upcoming tax season. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I really want to take the time to introduce all of the resource centers. We're not going to ask them all to speak, but let me thank Gerardo from the Lucille Becerra Roybal Family Source Center, Jessica Diaz and Daisy Topete from El Centro de Ayuda, Daniel Galvan from New Economics for Women. They have 2 locations. Michael O'Connell from Cypress Park Family Source Center, Carlos Martinez from El Centro del Pueblo, Aura Garcia from Youth Policy Institute, Tammy Membreno from Barrio Action Youth and Family Center, Eddie Nuno from Tom Bradley Family Source Center, El Nido Family Center is represented, Alex Moorhead from the Pacoima Family Source Center, Wendy Rivera, the Children's Collective Incorporated, Dr. Cox from the Coalition of Mental Health Professionals, Amanda Marquez from the 1736 Family Crisis Center, Community Build is here, Barbara Piggy from Bradley Milken Family Source Center, Kenneth Carter and Sandra Courtney from Watts Labor Community Action Committee, Vilma Kulajai and Ruth, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Ruth Sislowski from Community Care at Home, Albanida Mesquita from Central City Neighborhood Partners, Toberman Neighborhood Center, Karina Gonzalez from Oakwood Family Resource Center. I mention them because these are the people, Mr. Wesson, as you know, that we have invested in to create a new system of provision of service, and we are hoping in this time of cutbacks that we can continue to provide better services with fewer resources. These people are the ones that are struggling through that effort, and they are providing this particular program to our community. We also have certificates to recognize the Community Development Department and the United Way. We didn't know the Western Regional Director was going to be here, so I'm going to say a sentence that Mr. Smith is very familiar with. The certificate is in the mail, and we will prepare one because we are so gracious that you have recognized with incredible new programs that we can give that money that was supposed to trickle down to the people. This is the best way that it trickles down. And so we thank you so much for your effort to make the Earned Income Tax Credit program work throughout the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. We'll now go to item 18 out of order. And if there's an amendment circulated, 18A. Colleagues, if I can direct your attention, Mr. Parks, we'll accept that as friendly.
Language in the original ordinance was inappropriate, so it's being amended, and we'd ask that we get an aye vote and they go forthwith.
Okay. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved as amended. I'd like to recognize Mr. Zine next for a special one on the findings under our Council Rule 23. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all know about the incident that occurred last...
And this is just on the findings, so just you need to make the justification on the findings.
Okay, on
and we'll get
justification finding, urgency needed for the findings. There was an incident that occurred last week in my district regarding a unified school district police officer, and last night it was revealed by Chief of Police that the incident did not occur as stated, and it was a hoax. And my concern on the findings is that there were tremendous resources deployed that cost the taxpayers of the city thousands of dollars. So what I'm asking for in this is that we expedite with the city attorney's office a way that we can seize any assets to recoup the dollars that we spent on this massive deployment of over 350 police officers. So what I'm asking for, and the urgency before anything disappears, we give our city attorney direction to determine what we can proceed to recoup dollars damaged to the general fund to help replenish what was expended on this particular matter.
Okay, we just have the findings before us. That came, that news literally came last night, I believe, and after the posting of the agenda for today. Please open the roll on the findings, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. And on the substance, Mr. Zine?
On the substance, and I want to thank you, Mr. President. You were the acting mayor at the time when we responded to El Camino High School, where there was this situation where a LA Unified School District police officer was shot. Massive search of the area, schools locked down, community locked down for extended period of time. deployment of FBI, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, LAPD, Sheriff's, Highway Patrol, Department of Transportation, Fire Department, a tremendous expense to the taxpayers. And last night, it was disclosed by the Chief of Police in a news conference that it was a hoax, that the composite individual they were seeking did not occur in that particular manner. They're still investigating the circumstances of the situation. In a discussion with the chief this morning, I informed him that I was going to pursue this. He acknowledged the cost, and they're tabulating right now the cost to the taxpayers for this massive deployment, and it's the first time, recent memory, we've had this type of deployment on a situation like this. We need to send a message that a person who's sworn to protect and serve cannot do this, and there's consequences for that activity. Whatever happens with his job with the school district, whatever happens with the criminal justice system since he's been arrested for filing a false report of felony, is a separate matter. My concern is that we find what assets are available to recoup those dollars, those precious dollars, to our general fund, which we know is hurting for money in this hoax that was demonstrated by this man who's sworn to protect and serve, who didn't protect and serve, but who violated the public trust. So my request would be we send this to the city attorney, expedite the matter forthwith, and hopefully we can recoup some of the dollars that were expended on this massive deployment investigation in coordination with this particular situation. Again, I want to thank you, Mr. President, as the acting mayor at the time, for being there and assisting with this endeavor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zion. Thank you for putting this forward. I think we're all very shocked to hear that news last night, and pretty appalled at what we have been informed from the chief of police about the behavior of this officer who tremendous resources were expended on behalf of. So thank you for putting that forward. Yes, Mr. Sachs, would you like to come forward on this one, on special number 1? If you don't mind afterwards, fill out a card. Thanks.
Thank you. Very quickly, I appreciate you taking that effort, Mr. Zion, but I'd also like you to include the expenses of the city attorney that are going to be involved in going after getting the funds that were spent investigating this report. The city attorney should be paid also, because I believe they have budgetary problems too. Thank you.
I'll close our public comments. Let's take a vote. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor without objection. If we can go to the next item called special, please.
Mr. President, that brings council back to item number 15, called special for Councilmember Reyes.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, item 15.
For the record, there is a amendment 15A that has been circulated.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Colleagues, I speak in support of this resolution. This item speaks to adding some local discretion over large solar projects in the city of Los Angeles. As a CLA report indicates, currently state law requires administrative, that is, over-the-counter permitting of solar installations except where public safety may be impacted. As a result, the City Council and our constituents do not have any advance notice of projects that are being approved. In District 1, we went through that discussion regarding the large solar array on an acre of hillside that was the impetus of this motion. We are simply asking the state to allow the opportunity for a public hearing and input on large projects such as these. So how do we define a large project? In the resolution, in the original one, we said we'd like to review anything over 5 megawatts. We have developed a working group with the planning, building, and safety, fire department, city attorney, Department of Water and Power to develop a local solar zoning ordinance. In these initial meetings, we have been advised that 5 megawatts is too large a threshold. It will not capture in-basin projects. I believe the right number from a policy perspective is something that exempts most single-family residences, but looks at larger projects that is closer to 0.5 megawatts. So I'd like to make that amendment today. This working group is also looking at ways we make permitting easier in commercial industrial zones, for example, by easing height restrictions while still maintaining discretion in more sensitive areas such as hillsides or high fire hazard zones. I look forward to working with the state and at the local level to determine where the right balance is of encouraging solar as well as giving our communities a voice in these projects. So again, it's about developing an inclusive process, making sure we're taking care of sensitive areas, making sure we allow residencies to have their solar projects built, but also be aware of where we can reassure compatibility and where they're going to be planned. So I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Anybody else from the council wishing to speak on this or to reopen the public hearing that happened in committee? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on this. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
That brings us to item 19, called special for Councilmember Cardenas.
Did you want to take those up together?
Yeah, 19
okay,
and
Mr.
20.
Cardenas, items 19 and 20.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. On December 14, 2010, the committee that I chair held a joint meeting with the Budget and Finance Committee to consider a joint CLA-CAO report on fleet operations for GSD and LAPD and LA Fire Department. The city's total fleet is comprised of 63 facilities and 17,000 vehicles and pieces of equipment, ranging from automobiles, light, medium, heavy-duty trucks, and miscellaneous equipment such as lawnmowers, boats, and concrete saws, etc. We have a tremendous group of folks who actually have to maintain all of this equipment, both for safety purposes and rendering the maximum amount of service to our constituents. These are the kinds of things that get lost in the budget times like this when people want to focus, for example, just on one thing like public safety. As a matter of fact, these individuals who are actually keeping up these fleets are keeping up the LAPD and LA Fire Department fleet as well. So if we were to allow them to remain at a 25 to 35% vacancy rate for the personnel that support these matters, and we didn't try to address this in some way to try to make sure that they can keep up, we would have a disaster on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We would eventually have vehicles that police officers show up for work for that they can't utilize to get to the scene of a crime. We would eventually have firefighters there at the station trying to answer to a call and not have the equipment ready and available to them to get to that call. These are the kinds of things that get lost in these tough budget times. But I just want to first thank staff for all of your hard work in cooperating with us to try to figure out how we can address this issue in these difficult times and keep the level of service at the rate that we promised our constituents and that they deserve. So at this time, what I'd like to do is remind all of us that we have the departments at this time evaluating which vehicles are essential, which pieces of equipment are essential, and we are going to have to reduce our fleet. We're going to have to reduce the number of pieces of equipment. There's no question about it. So that's one of the things that we're doing right now, and I think it's important for us to thank the staff for cooperating with this effort, and also to thank my colleagues for supporting it so far, and I'm sure we'll support it as we finish out this process. At this time, I'd like to ask GSD and the various individuals who are here who have been supporting this on the staff level to come forward and talk about the fleet utilization study that's coming out. Thank you. Your name, please.
Angela Sherrick, Department of General Services. We have begun the fleet utilization study. We've actually contracted with a consultant to do the work. The consultant is Arroyo Consultants. We've begun the work, and we have an initial analysis of low-use vehicles. This is just for GSD, so this does not include police and fire. So we've identified about 2,400 vehicles that are low use. The next step in the process is to actually meet with each individual department. So we've begun our meetings, and we've actually had met with 19 departments to date, so we have 6 more departments to meet with. We anticipate completing the departmental meetings next week. During the departmental meetings, we've actually asked the departments to have input on the low-use vehicles, basically stating which vehicles they're willing to give up. We will start to work to actually collect those vehicles to begin the salvage process. We've asked the consultant, after those meetings are completed, to begin their report. So the report will then address the additional low-use vehicles that have not been given up by the departments. And at that point, we'll be coming before ITGA to present the initial report and get feedback from that committee.
And how soon do you hope to have that study ready to report?
We believe the study will be ready by March.
By March?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anybody here who can speak to this matter when it comes to fire and police department?
Morning, Councilman.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Rhonda Sims-Lewis from the Los Angeles Police Department.
Yes, when it comes to the police department, are we feeling in any way or seeing in any way yet a backlog of maintenance for our equipment and vehicles?
Right now, our out-of-service rate is about 7% for our general fleet population and about 9% for our black and whites and motorcycles. What we're doing is as you know, we've reduced our fleet by about 350 vehicles.
Thank you.
We've lost about 92 people in our staffing, and so that's helping us to maintain our ability to service the cars that we do have in service. As we have accidents, as we have more cars that need more repairs, our service rate may increase because we're continuing to lose staff to the proprietary departments, of course. But at this point, we're maintaining the fleet, and we have no issues with the availability of cars to keep our officers out in the street and safe.
Is it becoming a concern in any way, or everything's great?
Certainly, as we continue to lose bodies, mechanics, to be able to service the cars, it will become a concern. As our fleet gets older, it will become a concern because our parts and supplies budgets will need to be increased.
Well, a policy decision was made by the City of Los Angeles in the last couple of years, or this current budget year, that we were going to slow down the replacement of older vehicles with new vehicles, right? So just on the natural, the vehicles are getting older.
They're getting older.
And even though they may work properly or what have you, in order to maintain that proper working order, we do need people to actually service them, correct?
We certainly do, yes, sir.
And we have 92 less people to service them today than we did before?
It's 18 months ago, yes.
Yeah. So in the last 18 months, we're now down 92 individuals to actually maintain this equipment and these equipment and vehicles that we used to have 18 months ago.
That's correct.
92 people less. Okay, thank you. Fire department?
Mr. Cardenas,
Chief Andy Fox, LAFD. I think you said it best when you described the situation for the fire department. Is we are at a situation with our shops and in particular for the heavy-duty equipment mechanics that we are essentially running at a baseline right now. If we had, for example, if we did not have the MCP, the Modified Coverage Plan, we would have run out of aerial ladder trucks. We did not have the mechanics to repair our aerial ladder trucks at a sufficient rate so we could keep enough in reserve. As you all know, the fire department runs at 100%. We can't have any of our vehicles out of service, or we have firefighters without apparatus. If it were not for the Modified Coverage Plan and the extra trucks that are created by closing those resources, we would have ran out of aerial ladder trucks. So it's very, very severe.
Okay, so it's very severe. So the bottom line is this is not a comfort level that we'd like to continue. We need to make sure that we improve our comfort level of making sure that we can keep up and sustain that service level, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we do look forward to that report, and we also look forward to the continued cooperation by our fire department, police department, and all departments in the city to make sure that we gain whatever efficiencies we can and make sure that vehicles and equipment that we no longer need at this time, that we should be willing and able to give those up in order to make sure we find the right balance. So once again, I'd like to thank all of you staff who've been very, very forthcoming and cooperative and helpful in this effort. And this, once again, is a perfect example of what we need to do. We need to make tough decisions, difficult decisions, and sometimes when we're really lucky, it's not a tough decision, but we found an efficiency that we otherwise would not have found had we not gone through this process. So, members, we look forward to having some final decision-making on this matter, and once again, we look forward to that very critical and important report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there are no other members who wish to be heard, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on this item, and please tabulate to items, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are both approved. I think Mr. Alarcon wanted to continue item 30 till February 9th. If there's no objection, let's continue item 30 till February 9th. Item 24, Mr. Alarcon, you had an amendment to that. Has that been circulated? 2 amendments, okay. So there's the first amendment. Let's walk through just both those amendments. Does the city clerk have both of those? Or here's 24. No. 24B. Here's B. We can get that. Let's go to the next item. We have, let's go to 2728. We'll reconsider 25 in just a moment as well. I know somebody was unable to come into the room during our earlier presentations, but if we can go to item 27, that was called Special for Cards from the Public. Item 27, and Miriam Fogler and Van Nuys is our first speaker. Good afternoon.
Yes, you made me have to come here on a Friday, folks, because you made this today. I'll tell you, you're going against God doing what you're doing here. The Tower of Babel is going to come down very soon because you're listening to people like Loeffner and the coward. They're all the wackos out there that think that putting the public up against the government and causing a revolution is going to make things better. It's just going to make things worse. You're just playing into their little playing game. You're just playing into their hands, and you're letting them. You want to let them win? You pass any legislation against gun rights, you're just playing into the hands of these murderers and monsters. You're become outlaws and gangsters and criminals, in my mind, because in my opinion, the public needs to vote you all out, not just 6, 7 of you just being exited by the term limits, but you all need to go. Okay, you can't just go ahead and just limit the public size, how much firepower they can, because the police say, oh, the cop killer bullets are hollow points. Well, years ago, it used to be seal pointed. Now, the new thing is the hollow point. Oh, wow. You make the bulletproof vests very light now, and very cheaply made, probably. And this is just another way. You just want to win. Let the monsters, the ones that go out and murder, let them win. And you don't want to enforce the laws that you have on the books. And also we have the death penalty. It says, thou shalt not murder in the 10 Commandments. If you people would follow the 10 Commandments, you wouldn't have the problem today. Okay? And you wouldn't be ripping off the taxpayers there with the CRA. $930 million. Of course, you want to find a way, Villa Rosa wants to find a way to get around, to make a way to go ahead and keep on doing the legalized stealing. Well, legalized stealing...
And just as a reminder, we're talking about gun legislation today. Thank you for those additional comments. Donna Pearman is our next speaker. After that, we'll hear from Arnold Sachs here in Council Chambers. Good afternoon, Ms. Pearman.
Yeah. Sorry, because we didn't have public comment. Anyway, this gun legislation is a stepping stone to a full gun ban. Criminals don't obey the law. You let the criminals win. It hurts the people who are law-abiding NRA members. And you imagine a criminal, wait, I can't use a gun. City Council won't ban it. It's an infringement on our Second Amendment rights. Believe I won't stop here. These liberal politicians will continue chipping away with only the rich and the police will be able to own a gun. Because in the beginning, only the rich were able to own a gun. So people fought hard to have the Second Amendment right. One bad guy had a concealed weapon. It's in the Bible about defending yourself. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You should know this one, Mr. Garcetti. When outlaw politicians go after public, they want to be able to, like Loeffner had a point, government has to, trying to control our mind, he said. So you're letting people like him, because he wants to have gun restrictions.
Right.
He wants to be able to, so then you take away all that, and then all of a sudden there'll be a huge revolution. You want to make Loeffner a hero. You want a revolution. The police, make it a police state. Well, he said about the, so this is another area to distract us from what's really going on, how they're taking money away from us and giving to the CRA by having these things and making it a distraction. I guess that's it.
Mr. Sachs is our next speaker.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Here's my concerns. You have two motions on this agenda, And one requests the chief legislative analyst and the city attorney to report to council to share their legal understandings concerning current federal, state, and local parameters concerning gun issues. So why not take care of that item before you get involved in a ban of open carry? That way you are aware of all the gun issues. You know, the problem I see here is a billable hours situation. Attorneys are going to get involved, outside counsel is going to be needed, and general funds are going to be used to fight both sides of this argument. Get the facts first, and then make a rational, a new word for the council, a rational decision on what you want to do and how you're planning on your steps taken. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Suzanne Verge.
I put in a comment, please.
On item 27, sir?
Oh, sorry.
This is just on item 27 right now. Don't worry. We'll get to the other ones. Don't worry. Thank you for your patience.
My name is Suzanne Verge, and I'm president of the Los Angeles chapter of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. And we strongly recommend that the City Council get a full report from the City Attorney's Office regarding our current gun laws and any pending legal issues. I also highly recommend the Legal Community Against Violence. They're an excellent resource, and they can also give you a very extensive evaluation of your current gun laws and maybe some gun laws that we need to be considering. I think these are things that we really need to consider to make our city safer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is the last comment from the public. Mr. Kretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, I'd like to say that I don't believe that the second commandment of the Ten Commandments is gun ownership, and I've never seen any proof that God is a member of the NRA. But I'd like to extend my thanks to Council President Garcetti for collaborating with me on this and other gun violence-related issues. As elected leaders of the City of Los Angeles, it's critical that we understand the rules, regulations, rights, and policies affecting the type of guns and ammunition that people can have in the city and how such weapons might be utilized legally or illegally. And we need to take a look at whether there are additional pieces of legislation that we should be putting forward to address these issues. This motion calls for the city attorney and the CLA to help us hold a robust and well-informed discussion joined by representatives of organizations devoted to reducing and eliminating gun violence, so that we might be as knowledgeable as possible about what the City of Los Angeles can do and should do to end gun violence. We need to have this discussion because the safety of our residents depends on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kretz. Happy to join with you, and thank you for your leadership as in the past on these issues. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. If we can reconsider item 25 for a card for individuals that couldn't get in the room, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you. That's 10 ayes. Robert Silverstein would like to come forward on item 25. Thank you for your patience. And then Margarita Allen.
Thank you, Robert Silverstein of the Silverstein Law Firm, on behalf of Margarita Allen. Mrs. Allen is a property owner in Hollywood who will be impacted by the Boulevard 6200 project. We thank you for rescinding the previous denial of our appeal of the project's haul route. However, I note that that action is because of my letter notifying you of a Brown Act violation when you last voted on this matter. It is gratifying to see that the City Council is more willing to cure and correct its Brown Act violations, since I have prevailed in 2 trials against the City of Los Angeles under the Brown Act, the last one involving Councilwoman Jan Perry's scandalous project at Slauson and Central. But I should not have to be policing the City of Los Angeles. 2 weeks ago, I filed a sequel lawsuit against the CRA and the project's developer, the Claret Group, regarding a massive super graphic signage program for the Boulevard 6200 project. Just like the haul route issue, major changes to the super graphics are required to protect Mrs. Allen and others who live and work in the vicinity of the proposed project.
There have been many great improvements in Hollywood under the leadership of Council President Eric Garcetti and Councilman Tom LaBonge. However, with that leadership comes a stewardship and a duty to protect longtime stakeholders in Hollywood like Mrs. Allen. When this matter is heard again in Plum, we hope that our request for common sense mitigation measures will be seriously considered. We also hope that you will impose the strictest possible conditions on the Boulevard 6200 project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silverstein. Thank you again for your patience as well. Ms. Allen, if you'd like to come forward. Good afternoon.
Thank you, honorable council members. I'm Margarita Allen, and I live at 1751 Vista Del Mar in Hollywood. I've been a resident of Hollywood for 50 years, and I've worked as an actress in Hollywood since the late 50s, as in theater, movies, television. I've worked in dozens of television shows, from Gunsmoke and the Twilight Zone to Dallas and Criminal Minds. And my husband and I founded the El Cid Flamenco restaurant on Sunset that's due to become a cultural historic landmark next year at age 50. And it's been my privilege to lead a real Hollywood life, making it as an artist, making a living in show business. But now that I've gotten older, I just want to be in my home and at peace and take care of myself as best I can. But now that I'm not well anymore, a developer named the Claret Group is not allowing me to do that. And I came here today as a citizen of Los Angeles and a constituent of Council President Garcetti to express my outrage, I guess, at the proposed Boulevard 62,000 project being pursued by the Claret Group. The Hall route and other aspects of the project, which you are now sending back to the Plum Committee, will cause profound negative impacts on me and my family. But more importantly, when the matter is considered again by the Plum Committee, please be aware of the fact that the Claret Group attempted to have me sign away valuable property rights to them for absolutely nothing. At this point, when I'm not physically well, and now this happens to me, and my plans for retirement and peace have been destroyed by the Claret Group.
And you'll have to forgive me for cutting you off. We have to keep it as fair as possible. We have that timer for 2 minutes, but I'm happy to continue this conversation with you, and maybe we can sit down during my office hours and discuss this further as well. But we really appreciate your patience being here. We have to try to keep the public speaking as even for the same rules that Mr. Silverstein said, to make sure every speaker gets the same amount of time. So my apologies, but we appreciate your comments, and I look forward to sitting down and talking to you about it further. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. That will close the public hearing. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll again on item 25 and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you. We still have our general public comment left as well as a couple other items, but let's go to general public comment. My apologies. I did not know that had not been done. My apologies. Dr. Clyde Williams is our first speaker. After that is Lawrence Dickerson.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrow Road, El Sereno, Northeast L.A. Potholes are being filled, especially in CD 14. I don't know what's happening in the other CDs, but we do thank you very much for any assistance. But remember, it's the Bureau of Street Services that actually does the physical work. And we've asked them for additional work. And we will be submitting more potholes in our Phase 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to help out. Lawrence Dickerson is our next speaker. Arnold Sachs will follow him. And thank you for your patience as well.
Let me get the glasses on. I was real glad to hear folks talking about the Constitution a little bit earlier. Article 14, I think, was one of the big ones. All persons born and naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and the state which in there. So we got another one here, Article 2, a well-regulated militia, being necessary for the security of a free state. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the Constitution of the United States. The President of the United States swears that he will uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. This is Harvard Classics. You see it's not very beat up, so I don't use it that much, but this is from Abraham Lincoln's first inaugural address. And I think it's very significant, okay? 1861, he was speaking to a nation that was then divided. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it or their revolutionary right to dismember or overthrow it. Everyone always mentions those who have died for this country. We often talk about those who are wounded and broken apart in service to this country. Seldom do we then mention those who have killed for this country and returned physically whole. There are more than a few of them living today. They stood right next to those who had been killed, carried those who had been wounded away from where they had been hit, and this country we have placed before their eyes is their reward for each and every kill and for each and every friend they saw killed. Sometimes it might be a real drag for people like that to start looking around here and wondering why things are as they are and what the hell did they do it for.
Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs. We have individuals literally in the bathroom. I know you're counting, and they can hear what we're doing as well.
I'm sorry?
And I know you might not have ever used this bathroom, but they can hear in the bathroom. There's a speaker right there.
Thank you, Mr. President. But address is part of the problem, but sometimes you say they can hear, and sometimes people go in the back when they want to be not counted for the quorum, when they want to recuse themselves from any votes. So, unfortunately, it kind of like holds water like the penalties they suffer pursuant to council rules. Well, pursuant to council rules, the area that counts for the council meeting and the area that doesn't count for the council meeting is pursuant to council rules. That being said, Arnold Sachs discuss the AEG plans for the stadium that they want to build on basically city-owned property, because I believe the city is negotiating to sell some parking garages. Yet here, these developers have tipped their hands. They want to build a stadium. So are you negotiating with the developers to buy the property? Granted, there's some debt incurred. But granted, the stadium would be that much more of a plum to own. Because without the property, there's no stadium. And what is AEG going to do? Move to Irwindale? Oh, wait, that was tried already. Cost $10 million. You think that property is worth more than $10 million? Maybe we could get an answer from the Audit and Budget Committee on what it's worth. And that raises another question. If they build a stadium on city property, who's liable? It's city-owned property, but it's not a city-owned building. So is the city, which isn't in the parking garage business, going to get into the stadium business like they are at the Coliseum? And it's just very, very complicated. We'd like to get some answers on why you aren't considering selling the property to solve the budget problem.
Thank you. Walter Bechtel is our next speaker. After that is Donna Pearman and Van Nuys. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I wanted to say something about the problem with the guy that supposedly got shot out there in Woodland Hills. I've been trying to tell you about that kind of the trash out there in Woodland Hills all this time. The people who misuse their immunities to do things, and I was trying to explain to you about a young lady who misuses her father's top-secret clearance. And you don't want to listen to me. This is the entire, there is a large group among the people there in the entertainment industry who misuse immunities and do things and lie to the public. It didn't surprise me that just this one security guard had claimed that somebody had shot him. In my opinion, all them people over there in Woodland Hills, or many of the people in Woodland Hills and in the entertainment industry are involved with that kind of thing. It's just sad that things have to get out of hand, and it really in the media before you start to realize something needs to be done about that. I still claim, and many of these entertainers even get up on their songs and admit that they have stolen something. Marshall Mathers saying, that's why your stuff shows up in my songs. The lady I talked to you about saying that you search the credits for your name and find it's not there. The only question I have is, why do you people keep on finding these people to be innocent, and if a victim comes up here and explains to you something, that there's something wrong, why aren't you doing anything about that? How many billions of dollars do you have to lose before you realize you need to do something?
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. Donna Pearman is our next speaker. After that will be Miriam Fogler, both the Manas.
Good. I'm glad it's public comment. Anyway, here we go again. 2 hours more of presentations, dog and pony on our dime. Maybe our public will die of old age, so you don't have to hear them. When the city council speaks about the CRA, they said the CRA didn't take money from city services. Money is already allotted. What they don't mention is you only have so much money from property tax. It's not a never-ending supply of money. Mr. Garcetti, there is no genie who can give out wishes. More you allow for the CRA, less the money there is for property tax, for central city services. Governor Brown knows this. What the CRA has done to the state. What you choose to take over that, you choose to take that $930 million CRA project and move it to another day. And you took the Amendment 26 and moved that also. You do this to keep the public from speaking. Keep us on our feet. Keep the public from knowing the CRA doesn't need that much allotment. We shouldn't need to put the city employees on furlough. If you make them pay for the medical, you'll have to give them a good cost of living. Also, it's a no-brainer. You need to stop paying people how to live, what to eat, what to buy. You need to, about the soda tax is ridiculous. Does that include diet soda? CRA and your special projects take property tax increment money. You choose to hurt the city employees and hard-earned pensions. You choose to let us have old equipment. So you don't take care of the equipment, so it will fall apart, and in the end run, it will cost a lot more money in the end. And then when people get hurt by using old equipment, and then you have to take, then you're responsible for taking care of these people, workers' comp. So let's not go after city employees, and we need to curtail the CRA, because I really do believe you're taking too much tax increment dollars. Everything else is going up. We can't take away from the city employees. The food is going up, the gas is going up, medical is going up. Stop it.
Miriam Fogler is our next speaker. Then we'll come back, and Antonio Ramirez will follow.
It was in the Tuesday paper when you continued the same day. I knew right away. The media already knew that you were going to continue that item, the $930 million. We knew it. You have this all planned. Antonio was doing his little scrimmage upstairs, doing a huddle with the mayor to figure out, why don't we find alternative ways to get money to balance the state's budget when you pass Prop 22. Well, I'm glad, Garcetti, it backfired on you. You're a lawyer, and you know very well you're all a bunch of crooks over there. You and Rosendahl leading the pack. So you ought to know you all belong to jail for what you're doing, stealing our tax dollars away from our core services. and rendering the city helpless and hopeless. Well, that's why you want to go after our gun rights, too. And I know very well you want to limit our firepower. We're going to go back to the muzzles of the war of 1776. That's what the kind of guns you want to put us back. One bullet. That's right, folks. They want to trickle it down from the 30 clip. Wow, a 30 clip that Loeffner used. Oh, I'm so scared. Oh, the Brady, come on, help me, save me. Well, I'll tell you something. I'm saving myself from you, Brady, and you gun controllers and Koretz. God is going to punish you for what you're doing. This is a big
Ma'am, if you
sin,
could please keep your
Koretz, and
comments
all the
to items not of a personal nature that we have jurisdiction over. God is not under our jurisdiction. I think you would agree to that.
So you're under God. When you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you are under God, unless you want to throw that out. Or am I wrong? You know, this is an insult that you don't. God protects America. You took an allegiance. You took a oath to this office that you are holding. You need to
Thank you, ma'am. I'm no way am I disrespecting God. I'm just letting you know that that was outside our jurisdiction. You were beginning to make items of a personal nature towards Mr. Koretz. I won't defend myself against any of the other things, but I do want to correct for the record, I am not a lawyer, never have been one. Thank you. Antonio Ramirez is our next speaker.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a matter of principle. We're putting the following on notice. President Barack Obama, Congress, the legal jurisprudence, and all our corrupted and non-corrupted politicians, and that is to strip all sanctuary cities of their safe haven status in reference to East Los Angeles and its city, i.e. Vernon, Maywood, Cotahi, Bell, which are nothing more than percolating terroristic and criminal breeding grounds for the continuous onslaught of violence, criminal activity, and mayhem. Primarily, you have a two-pronged problem in East LA, and that being the Latino gangbangers, the SS, and all the criminal illegal wetbacks and their byproducts. These two groups are internal and external combustion with an explosive melee waiting to happen. It's only a matter of time. Case in point, kingpins and gangbangers in Maywood, California, Luis Garcia and Ofelia Rodriguez, are not only a public and private nuisance, but they use their apartment as a central office to delegate their wave of violence and criminal gangbanging, racketeering, by indoctrinating and recruiting young, vulnerable, and innocent lives to the pathetic, degenerate life of dismal abyss. Moreover, the problems don't end there, but are more scandalous and twisted with a badge. They are law enforcement tentacles, the police department and the sheriff's department, with the exception of the chopper pilots. They are hot mamas. The district attorneys, Nishikawa and Alicia, the judicial officers, the detectives, Hector Andujo, and all these other moronic buffoons. They arrest these filthy, scummy gangbangers and they release them shortly after with no charges. They go through the revolving door, consequently endangering further the lives of innocent victims who fingered them. Action to be taken. Boot them all out with the exception of the choppers. Boot the bastards out, the sheriffs and the police. They're inept, incompetent, and idiotics. You put in the military, baby. Only the military can take care of these gangbangers and all the menacing, no good, rotten bastards. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Bobby Cooper is our next speaker. After that, that'll be the end of public comment, and we'll go to item 24 again, and then 28. Thank you for your patience, sir.
Yes, you do. My name is Bobby Cooper, and I've been under surveillance for 6 years. I haven't been able to use my telephones, computers, or anything, simply because I make an allegation against the following law enforcement and attorneys. I'm making allegations against John Allen Goldwyn. What is that? 12 years, 12 years salary from the Maryland Foundation, and he uses those same funds as trustees to harass me. We're talking about what? 6 different people dead, 4 in my family, genocide by him, and your Los Angeles police officer, Lisi Sanchez, and Officer Shore. Just this week, a gentleman by the name of Essex security guard Joseph Convante threatened to shoot me with his gun for monies from this gentleman. This man has the whole apartment building under surveillance, has them hired as amateur detectives to watch me make sure I've got thousands of dollars insurance money coming to me that Mr. Goldwyn and your Los Angeles police, individual police officers, are keeping me from collecting. You know, they threaten my life. I've had my life threatened more than once. You know, I've had an attempt made on my life August 11th, 2010. Now, when are you going to do something about this, man? You know, I don't need to come down here, and I'm not afraid. So you get it together. I want my money. my father's inheritance. Work for yours.
Thank you, sir. That will close our general public comment. We have one public comment card for item 28. Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward on item 28.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. This is a motion relative to providing funding for curbside sidewalk projects, curb sidewalk improvements, beautification projects needed to improve conditions for public transit patrons, as well as general services to the community. So I'm just curious, because this is coming from the Street Furniture Revenue Fund. You recently heard that the CRA has $930 million. In today's agenda, you have an item for an alley in Hollywood development project, an alleyway to be refurbished. And you have another item where the MSCP Landscape Maintenance Program is going to be asked to clean up graffiti. You have another item. It's the pedestrian alley improvements in the Hollywood redevelopment area. You have another item where the Al Dente, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, the Al Dente East Side redevelopment project is going to be involved in legal opinions. My question is why isn't the CRA involved? Wednesday, you were involved in allocating $42 million or $52 million for a project at the Grand Avenue project for a parking garage, sidewalk improvement, street widening, a plaza. So why isn't CRA funding used, A, for graffiti removal? Isn't that cleaning up the community? B, for sidewalk improvements. You're doing it here. C, for street widening. D, for improvements for pedestrians. E, for transit improvement. Why is CRA sitting on $930 million when all this crap is available, all this stuff is happening in each one of your districts, and you've got to raid these, what the hell is it called? Beautification funds or whatever, the street furniture funding. Why not transfer the funding from street furniture into the general fund and use the CRA? Get them involved in the community.
Comments on item 28. If no members wish to be heard, let's prepare the roll on 28 and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That's approved. Item 24, there's two amendments on. If there's no objection, we'll accept those two as friendly amendments. Anybody wishing to be heard on 24? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll as amended and tabulate the vote.
We do have...
Oh, I'm sorry. We hadn't had that earlier. We do have a card. Dr. Clyde Williams. Mr. Sachs, do you want to speak on 24? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll on 24 and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
As approved. If we can call the roll on the special meeting, please.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Han, Weezer, Carets, Krikoran, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Stein, Garcetti, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please. Or first item, excuse me.
That would be item 32. It is an item for which a public hearing has been held.
Okay. But we do, Mr. Sachs, actually, we are going to reopen it if you want. Okay. Mr. Sachs passes. On 32, on the special meeting, if you'd like to come forward. Okay. All right. Mr. Sachs passes. We'll close the public hearing. Any members wishing to be heard on item 32? If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. And if we can adjourn the special meeting, go back to the regular meeting. And next order of business, please.
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk.
Okay, let's run through those.
Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused on September 9 due to personal business. That meets council policy. Councilmember Huizar requests to arrive at 10:30 on February 8 due to city business. That meets council policy.
He's excused.
Councilmember Perry requests to arrive at 11:30 on February 1st and 11 due to city business. That meets council policy. And Councilmember Labange requests to be excused on February 8 due to city business. That meets council policy.
All right, that is, the excuse is granted as well.
The desk is clear.
All right, do we have announcements, colleagues? Any announcements for this weekend? I did want to remind folks in Hollywood, we're having our land planning summit, that is Los Angeles Area Neighborhood Dream Plan, tomorrow, and that will be, we're expecting over 100 folks over at Selma Elementary School, starting at 9 a.m. We're also having our Cash for College event at Bernstein High School from 9 to 2 for any students that need help filling out their FAFSA forms, getting financial aid tomorrow. So please do come, and we look forward to seeing you there. Can I ask folks to please rise for adjourning motions? Colleagues, quickly, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Helen Akauli Summers Brown. She was an icon in the Filipino-American community. She passed away on January 26, 2011. She was known fondly as Auntie Helen. Dying at the age of 95, she lived an incredibly full and vibrant life. Her love of the community, especially her tireless work with children and youth, is what drove her. She founded the Filipino-American Library in 1985 to make sure that Filipino Americans never forget where they come from and the perilous journeys that many of their ancestors take to make a new life in America. Historic Filipino town will not be the same without Auntie Helen. We know that she is smiling down on us after a very great, full, and vibrant life. I also ask that we adjourn in memory of Ugandan LGBT advocate who had been named recently, David Kato Kisule, who was murdered today in his home in Kampala. I know that Mr. Rosendahl has alerted folks to the plight of many who are standing up for sexual equality in Uganda, but he was found murdered today after put on a website calling for his death, and we adjourn in his memory. Other adjourning motions? Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to add to the comments on David Cato, he was bludgeoned to death after his picture had been published by an anti-gay newspaper next to the words, "Hang them." Whoever did it used a hammer, not a rope, but I can think of few things as brutal and terrible. And we did a motion about a month ago, actually, opposing a piece of legislation in Uganda that would have called for the death penalty for certain gay acts. Worldwide outrage helped to prevent that from passing, but obviously that didn't stop the hatred that led to this terrible murder. I also would like to adjourn in memory of the 66th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, the largest of the Nazi death camps. On this day in 1945, Allied forces entered the Auschwitz extermination camp complex and discovered firsthand that the horrendous scope of Nazi atrocities, liberating more than 7,000 remaining prisoners. Days earlier, 60,000 of them had evacuated the camp and been forced on an infamous death march where many thousands lost their lives. 1.5 million people were murdered there, almost 1 million Jews. And of course, that was much of the Holocaust, which followed the Armenian genocide and became a turning point in history, after which the world was prompted to say, never again. And of course, coincidentally, we honored today Janice Kaminer-Resnick and Jewish World Watch, who makes that their mission.
Thank you. Other adjourning motions today? If there are none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. We'll next be in session on the first day of February, February 1st, 2011, on Tuesday.